All right, this is on air again after the fuck up. Now, I'm getting a call. Okay. If I answer that, though, what's going to happen? Yeah, no. Okay, you guys keep calling me, but it just will take me out of this, and this is now broadcasting again. So I'm going to post this as normal instead. Let's see get this link. Okay, I hear it going, so it's working again. Fucking thing. So I had a wireless problem. This echo is going to be a problem here. I better stop it. And then what else was I going to do? Oh, yeah, I have to post the link. Oh, what a pain. I just came outside and then it all went promo and it took too long to join. Boom. Okay, here it is on the video and then on the Google Plus. To join. Right. Yeah. Okay, so hopefully guys get that in a few seconds. Fuck. I don't remember what we were talking about. Oh, I was gonna. Oh yeah, Ayn Rand. Set.
Okay.
All right, so I guess the link is out there. Great. Sorry about that. I just tried to come outside, and I knew I was on a time limit, but I would have said I had another 5 minutes before that happened. So.
It's all right. We'll reorganize.
Hopefully.
All right, here I am.
Okay. So everybody, the dock is just on, but I'll give controls here.
Awesome. And I'll
So what do we interrupt? The Ayn Rand
conversation, yeah. All right, Infinity is here. I'm gonna share the controls with Infinity because I would share them with Matt, but Matt forgets he has them. So
yeah, exactly.
right.
But it's still, we've proven it's still worthwhile.
Yeah, I want to give them to him as a backup, honestly. All right, so Matt.
You know what? I'd like to mention while we're getting this reorganized. So that first guy, Kip,
yes.
it does bother me. People that are kind of on my side of the spectrum saying, "Hey, this is a really fucked up system," you know, and geopolitics is nasty. What the fuck?
Also, Matt, you have to wield this power. I know you don't want to, but
Damaged, you're calling me, but you need to actually go to the link that's on the channel description now.
In case something happens to myself or Infinity, it is up to you, Matt. You are our last bastion of hope.
You know I'm just gonna get high and leave like I always do, right?
You know what? You didn't before, and if you had controls, that shit wouldn't have happened. There you go. Fuck your excuses, sir.
Oh. I'm gonna go back to grinding my Nuzlocke team.
You're a fucking coward, Matt.
God, how do people play Pokemon without a speed up function? Like, this shit is so much more fun now that I can play this in 2 times speed.
Alright, damaged. Okay, damaged is back.
But seriously, this is how slow the game normally looks. Look at how slow this is. Look at how slow this fucker's coming in.
It's probably because it's probably lag on your part too, Matt.
No, it's because, like, that's the speed of a Game Boy Advance game.
Alright, so, like, we were discussing Ayn Rand, and, like, I Does it irritate you that Kip is on our what was it? Is Kip on our I guess technically our political spectrum, and that's what annoyed you? Like, what?
Well, I wouldn't say it is because the spectrum is so weird now. But yeah, I think the people, and it's happening among the Trump supporters, but they come up with their conspiracies. I know and believe plenty, but it becomes an irrationality where no, we're not going to actually discuss these things. It's just a complaint and a lecture, and it's like there's real stuff going on, you know. And yeah, I think that it bugs me more that people that want the world, including the conservatives, to be a better place, or they're against the establishment, that it's just this blind rage. Like there aren't books, like there isn't the internet information to sort of funnel that and find out which is true and which isn't true, or which is proved, or remember a story that you haven't figured out if it's true or not, and you don't act on that, and just to come in and lecture about the kind of topic and then misquote people but lecture about, it's kind of like what the Republican Party was doing at their convention. It's like they foment fear and disunity so they can promote security and unity, but they're the ones creating the disunity.
But that's what opposition parties typically do. I mean, they try to say, well, if you stick with the current government, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty, and I'm not sure they can handle it. And, you know,
but that's why we have this problem. That's what I'm saying. That's why we have this problem, because that's our regular politics, and it's just a slow machine that just grinds out more and more division and fear. Go ahead.
So technically, the Republicans aren't the opposition party. Like, they're in control of both houses of Congress.
That's a fair point. That is a very fair point.
And they got
They're the opposition party only in terms of that third of the government, the presidential third of the government. It is the Supreme Court, the houses of Congress.
Yeah. Supreme Court's supposed to be apolitical, but let's be honest, it's not.
No, definitely not.
You know who I actually do like on the Supreme Court? Like Roberts. He hasn't always sided how I would love him to side, but he is a lot better of an appointee than I would have thought George W. Bush would have put in there.
I would defend the Supreme Court as, you know,
I thought it would.
Relative,
I thought Bush was just going to put nothing but Antius Scalia's in there. Sorry, Kiro.
Right, no, I'm sorry to talk over you, but because I'm just agreeing, but I'm also pointing out on what we just said that I'm not that thrilled with Roberts, but he does show how it's hard to make the Supreme Court as political as they'd like. And, you know, Scalia, who really was pretty political, I thought, is pretty rare. You get people, you know, selected by a Republican end up being the liberals and vice versa. So I don't know. I think it does a pretty good job of being above politics, but everything is relenting. Everything is becoming political now, and it's ridiculous. I love politics, but this isn't what that doesn't mean it's supposed to infect every fucking thing when you're buying. I mean, I asked my mom, what's going on with this, I can't use your washer. It's got this lock. It's doing weird stuff. And she went on this tirade about how it was political correctness had ruined her washer. And I don't even know what the fuck she was talking about. But not my laundry is not political.
Well, that depends. Do you mix the darks with the lights, or would you be worried that
that is funny. I like that. Vivian gets like 5 internet points. There you go.
Yeah.
And now, is the conversation over? Is that it? Like, mic drop or something?
No. Like, I get what you mean, Pierre.
I mean, here's the thing.
Well, you know what? When we got interrupted on Trump, I was going to say
the Republicans are totally going to be an opposition party come 2 years from now. Because, oh boy, has Trump done a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think so too. Even losing, he'll do damage. Winning, probably more, but now, who knows? The thing is, when we got interrupted for being too petty when we were talking about Trump, the next thing I was going to say is I think the most revealing thing about Trump, they haven't really been harping on it that much, but the one with the baby, and not that he kicked the baby out, but just how he did it, and the line about, I was worried she'd believe that bullshit about she's a wonderful parent with her crying brat. You know what I mean? That's his whole thing. People should see that. That's how everything he says, it's like, you think they would have some shame. No, they think people are idiots. Obviously, I'm just
Yeah,
being polite.
he's a modern day P.T. Barnum. He's just
Yeah.
he's just taking advantage of the rubes.
And then he has the gall to go to the rubes and say, "You guys aren't rubes. You should have known I was bullshitting you," because he knows. Then it's like that Mark Twain thing where in Huckleberry Finn, I think it is, um, they they do a show, and it's a really shitty show, but it's designed to be so shitty that everybody in town doesn't want to admit they got robbed, so they tell all their friends to go, and everybody gets robbed, and they make twice as much money. And it's kind of like, um, people are embarrassed to have made such a bad decision. So when they call you on it, if you're as blatant as Trump, you just go, "Well, that was a really bad decision by your guys' part."
Yeah,
But
because
anyway,
being the most powerful man in the world means never accepting responsibility, apparently.
Oh, well, Trump would be good at that. Let's not talk about Trump. I find him depressing and a troll.
He's real, though. It's reality.
No, he's not a real person. No, he's a figment of our imagination. No, nobody that obnoxious.
I would rather talk about Trump's father, who was a really fucking cool guy. He was into austerity, frugalness. He built housing for poor people or people coming back from the war.
He can't be that great. I mean,
No,
look what he produced.
He had a rich son that he sent to stupid schools.
Well,
and
you know
the kid said, "Geez, Dad, I don't want to stay in the boroughs. I want to conquer Manhattan." He's just a spoiled brat.
Well, but wait a second. Woody Guthrie disagrees with you. He wrote a song about Trump's dad and his slums that he built. And he also got nailed for being a racist and trying to keep blacks out of some of his buildings.
Yeah, but at least he built affordable housing.
Yeah, I agree. And he built like 22,000 units or something.
Maybe it's relevant to the time.
I respect him as an accomplished person. I wouldn't want to say he was a good person, but I think he accomplished something, whereas Trump, I think, just, it's this whole land thing with Henry George. He just had a bunch of pieces of paper, and of course, you own pieces of paper. Your daddy helps you buy some pieces of paper in New York, and it's valuable, and it goes up as the world evolves and things get more expensive. All of the advantage of all of the benefits to our production go ultimately to the landlords, not even to the capitalists. They build up money, but they're taking the same percentage. Who gets more and more? Who's benefiting from the fact that it takes 5 people to run a farm that used to take 50? The landlords, whoever owns the lands. That's who wins in the long run, and that's fucking Trump.
Yeah.
People like Trump that make me wish that
and his dad actually developed.
Escape from
So
New York
good.
actually happened. Because I would love the appearance of that alternate universe where Escape from New York, where Manhattan had to be abandoned as a shithole.
And it became a big prison. Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Damage, will you
love
vote
to
for
see
Trump?
That was an awesome movie.
I love
Damage,
it.
would
love to see
would you vote?
Biggest wall.
No, I could not vote for
Trump.
I used to think I would, but that was only because I'm not an American and I just wanted to see how the experiment would go. But if I was an American, I'd be freaked out right now because Hillary, there's a lot of evidence that Hillary's lost her
she's
fucking
awful.
senses.
That's the problem with this election. It's Hillary who's incompetent and probably evil.
I don't think she's incompetent.
No, she's not incompetent, and she's as evil
I
as
really
any American
think
president. No, she'd
incompetent.
probably be a better president than her husband.
She might. I will say this. Unlike Trump, which makes me feel a lot more better about her, she won't surround herself with incompetent people like Trump will.
Yeah.
Yes,
Trump
but
is such an egomaniac that
Hillary.
it's not going to
Dr.
matter.
Phil will be our attorney or Surgeon General.
And I mainly say she's incompetent
He'll be on the
because
Supreme Court.
she's done a lot of dumb things, and I'm like, if she only took 2 seconds to fucking think about it,
I don't think she's done
I'm not
anything
gonna do
more.
this.
I don't think she's done anything more dumb than
Well, I
Most
mean,
politicians have. I mean,
like the stuff with the
Well,
Clinton Foundation.
having
the
that
fact
email
is the
server was
US
pretty dumb.
Yeah, that was dumb, and the stuff with the Clinton Foundation. It's like, why are you gonna take money from the Clinton Foundation? That's shady. But like, thankfully, Donald Trump's in it against her, and he's an idiot, so he's not going to attack her for that. He's going to attack her for being co-founder of ISIL.
Yeah.
If co-founder of ISIL, she's not.
And here's my thing with that argument: if we're going to make the argument that like a president is the founder of ISIL, shouldn't it be George W. Bush, since he went into Iraq and Al Qaeda in Iraq? Part of it eventually evolved into ISIL.
right? It actually happened in Iraq, is where that occurred.
Julian Assange just brought out a bunch of emails that pretty much, suggested that she supported the funding of ISIL.
Do I have some background noise?
That's not true.
Infinity, do I have some background noise coming from my end?
Yeah, I muted you because every time you're clicking on your keyboard, it's coming through.
I mean, one can make an argument. Something's just occurring to me. One can make the argument that support for the Free Syrian Army during the time before it splintered,
right,
was a contributing factor to the formation of ISIL.
I think a big problem, and even my cousin who doesn't like Trump was like, oh, he's just joking, can't people say something? But about the Second Amendment, that you could just take out, I forget who did a show that was defending him. Oh, Sam Cedar was saying, he wasn't saying kill Hillary Clinton, he was saying you could kill the judges. But that's not okay.
Wait a minute.
This isn't your living room.
That was that's not the explanation.
Well, no, this is Sam Cedar, who's a liberal, and so it was a mock defense, but I think grammatically he's correct. He said, if she's elected, there's nothing you could, and she appoints these judges, there's nothing you can do about it. I guess there's the Second Amendment, people could do something about it. And it's obviously not Hillary Clinton that's getting assassinated, it's these judges. So,
okay.
But either way, it's an assassination joke that isn't appropriate because we're not that special of a nation, and we've had assassinations. So it's not a thing that doesn't happen in the world. Joking about it is fine in your stand-up comedy, but as a president, no, because that's where the murderers come from. When it's not a conspiracy, some crazy guy off the handle shoots Rabin or whatever. So, I mean,
they're defending
why
it
it's
by
important.
They're defending it by being dishonest and saying that, oh, that's not what he meant. He meant he's just saying that they might be able to stop it before it happens.
Here's the thing. Yeah. Donald Trump supporters have already acted on the shit he said. Like, people forget about the fucking two dudes who beat up that Mexican guy last year in fucking Boston because of what Trump said.
Yeah, we all want to protect our private speech like it's just our individual thing. And then we also want to have YouTube channels, and supposedly people think they're going to influence people. But that doesn't count. If you do influence them, it's their response. It's like a shell game. And in fact, we do have the freedom to say whatever we want on our channels. It doesn't mean everybody does. It doesn't mean running for president is an exercise in absolutely free speech.
I would say that creates a bit of a. I would say that creates a really bad, it can create a problem in the future, right? If we look at speech as something to where we have to curb speech here and there, because you never know how it kind of affects.
What I'm saying, look, he doesn't have to curb his speech. I'm saying that one of the qualities of presidents should be that they know how to handle their own speech, and they should be able to say the truth and not foment violence. You have to realize you can foment violence, and it's exactly like yelling, fire in a crowded firehouse. I mean, you can foment violence. You're running for president. We should see the quality of being able to calm things with your words. It's a necessary requirement. And to not lack that is already reason not to elect the person. but it's also a reason to be concerned, because this is how, in geopolitics, civil wars break out. And we're not beyond that. And I doubt we'd have a full-blown civil war, but we could have a lot more of these Oregon refuge things. We could have fucking 20 years of that kind of unrest.
And the shitty thing with Trump, too, is he might go away, because he's already said, like, if he loses, he's going to go on a nice long vacation. But you know who's not going to go away? The fuckers who supported him. They're
Probably
still
not.
going to be there.
I think he's going to start a TV channel or something, especially like I said
like
earlier.
that's what I hope, because I'm like, you know what, it'll be a constructive outlet for all of their fucking awfulness.
He could be like Castro. He could, if he's elected president, he could have like presidential speeches that go on for like 2 hours.
It'll be a little bit of a hostile take. It'll be a little bit like a hostile takeover, because basically it's a huge television market, but he will just bleed it dry such that he takes all the profit out of the brand, and you know, they won't go above 50% if that happens. So he'll just be bleeding, like you're saying, the crazy conservative side of the conspiracy world, and doing it no good. So it probably would be good in that
Fox
sense.
News is in a lot of trouble now. Not just with like the whole fact that like their organization was basically a dictatorship, but also their viewership is dying. Like, not just figuratively, but also literally.
Literally dying.
Their viewership is like over 50. That is like their main viewership is
Well,
like
you know what?
56.
That's the thing about Fox right now, even. Fox concentrated a dying demographic and knew it all along. Well, going back to the Southern strategy, they knew it was a dying demographic, but they figured they could get a bunch more years out of it. And guess what? Those decades have now passed, and it's dipping below the surface.
Yeah.
But
you
it's
know what's actually hilarious? I was reading about that.
For these radio talk show
Trump's opened up like states that like the Democrats were like, we didn't think we would be able to like compete in these states until like 2020, 2024 when the demographics shifted enough. But like Trump's just throwing a monkey wrench into everything in the GOP.
I know. I wonder if what will happen in 4 years, if they'll run a sane one or they'll double down on the insane, or maybe they'll go for a sane, the sane radical like Rand Paul or his dad or something, that does present themselves.
I'm not joking. I can see Rand Paul again next time. I can see it finally happening, because it's like, fuck, now that Trump's run for president, I guess I could totally see an actual Rand Paul or fucking Ron Paul getting the fucking nomination now. Anything's possible.
Right, yeah.
Jeez, anybody seems more reasonable by comparison. That's just the strangest thing. Like, you nearly
but like, I was telling some
people,
I'm sorry. Like, I was telling some people, like, if it was Mitt Romney versus Clinton, like, I'd probably vote for Mitt Romney. Like, he didn't run Massachusetts all that awful, and, like, he's a moderate Republican. He doesn't seem to give a shit about, like, gays or, like, weed or anything I care about.
He's
so
like
I'm like,
old Bob Dole's, more or less, or seems like.
Yeah, like, I'm like, I could take 4 years of fucking Mitt Romney. I mean, I could take 4 years of Hillary Clinton, but, like, it's going to be awful because I have to hear her fucking voice. That's the main thing I'm not looking forward to, is she has the worst voice ever. I just hear it and, like, I get tense. Like, it's like nails on a chalkboard.
I don't think you're sexist, but I find, they do that on Fox News a lot. They'll just throw that in about how great.
Oh, yeah, like, that's why
I associate it with sexism, but, I mean, I guess I
have a lot of problems with her. That's probably, like on the bottom of my list of things I hate about, like, you know what I don't get with Hillary, when people make fun of her pantsuits? Like, why do you call them pantsuits? All suits have fucking pants, you fucking idiots.
Well, because first ladies always wore dresses. It blew the mind of America. She almost was already the first lady president, and I think that's why That's why some people have held that torch for her so long, because she was really active and went to work like the manager of a paper factory or something. You know, she wore pantsuits, and now you wouldn't think as much of it. And even then, it wouldn't. People weren't thinking much of it in the culture, but in the, you know, they still love, you know, Jacqueline Kennedy and they want a princess, you know, and people
really my
like
big two
Nancy Reagan
problems
played it.
with her politically is like, well, probably three is like she supports all those weird, awful fucking trade deals, like fucking
Yeah.
TIPA and fucking NAFTA and shit. She's a lot more hawkish than I would fucking like.
Yeah, it truly is. She is
And also,
establishment.
Okay.
I know a lot of people don't agree with this assessment, but I do just kind of find her personally incompetent because I'm like, if she, because you know, she's one of those women in politician who's like, I'm like worse than the men because I have to be worse than the men to get ahead.
Oh,
But
Margaret
at the same
Thatcher,
time, it's like, yeah, like Margaret Thatcher, but it's like Margaret Thatcher wouldn't make half the mistakes you do.
Oh, Thatcher.
Like,
Thatcher
say what
made
you want
a lot
about
of
Margaret
mistakes.
Thatcher, but like,
But Thatcher, like Clinton, was very, very lucky to have basically unrespectable enemies. She had
yeah, true.
she had a lot of people who were kind of hard to take seriously who were her opponents. A lot of sort of slapdashed sort of trade unionists. Trade unionists who made a good effort to stand up for their interests, but you know, some of them really were so outside the mainstream that it was difficult for the public to take them seriously. Trump is kind of the
Yeah,
same.
from my understanding, like,
Well, you know what?
Labor
There's
didn't pose a great threat to her either, because like they were really split in like the 70s and 80s because of the EU
Yeah.
stuff, where like a big chunk of them were like, "Wait, why is the main part of the party arguing against free labor? We're the Labor Party. Shouldn't we be for that?"
Free labor? Well, wait, what do you mean by that? I think you might
Well,
be
I mean, you know, free movement of labor, not free
that's
labor, not like
I understand what you mean. That's not necessarily.
unionists are
uh,
traditionally very protectionist and tariff-oriented and stuff. I agree with you. It would be smarter
I thought
to have
like
an
because they had the name labor.
labor needs to embrace the international and be intersectionalist about it. Like, for example, one thing I'd like to do is, hey, don't have tariffs, but why not have a minimum wage law where everybody that makes goods you buy in your market, so we import something from Bangladesh, fine, they have to make $7 an hour. How about that? Yeah, then they'll be filthy rich. How long is that going to last before we put some factories here for minimum wage? You know, it's like there's other ways that trade unionists wouldn't have to be nationalists, but trade unionists is like, it's traditionally the most where you get a lot of anti-feminism, conservative things, and that's the Reagan Democrats.
Because I have a question. Because
Go ahead.
I've been wondering something about UK politics for a time now. Where does the liberal Democrats fit into everything? Like, I get where the Tories fit in, and I get where Labour fits in, but I'm like,
Good
what
question.
role do these
that looks
people
nice.
play?
Okay, that is a really, really good question. Basically, it's a little hard to say because the Liberal Democrats have only been in government once in the last 50 years or so. Might have been 30 years, but a pretty sizable chunk of time. And because they're a smaller party, they typically go in as the minor partners in a coalition with one of the other parties. So they generally represent social liberal. How to put it? Socially liberal policies, not socialist policies. Socially liberal policies. So they're not a left-wing organization, nor would they necessarily be a right-wing organization. They'd probably be a centrist organization. I don't.
What do you think about Merkel's party? Because there were some people trying to tell me that she's all leftist, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding? Aren't they like Christian Democrat kind of thing?
No, they're not. They're not expressly leftist. No.
No, they're center-right, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But
people see whatever they fucking want.
You see, I should explain about the Syrian refugees coming into Germany. Germany has been looking to get migrants for quite a while. I know that might sound strange from an American context, but they have they expect that they're going to have a
That's
labor
actually
shortfall.
one of the things that Kip guy brought up. Sorry.
Yeah, you guys, the UK's fucked if you can't bring in immigrants. No, it should be
The
well
UK
known.
is also fucked. But the UK doesn't
You're going
have
to have
the
to
same
start
low
having more
birth rate.
babies.
There's a lower birth rate in Germany, and they're being smarter about it than the Japanese are. They're and certainly smarter about it than the Chinese are. They're actually trying to get people in, get them familiar with the German language and train them up and so on. They actually do put some reasonable effort into training people. The UK is okay-ish, from what I hear, at training people who are long-term unemployed into employment. Ireland is, if I may give my 2 cents on it, pretty terrible at it.
Not too terribly sure about China, but I believe with Japan, there's also issues of like massive overcrowding too.
Vivian, you're in Northern Ireland, right? You're in the UK.
No, I'm in the Republic.
Okay, sorry.
But
sorry,
I keep up to, no, it's okay. Well,
well, I mean, I'm just trying to remember.
I keep reasonably up to date with the British stuff.
Well, of course, but
I think with Japan, they're like suffering a lot of overcrowding too. So.
That too. There are some ways in which quality of life in Japan is really quite dreadful. Really, their disposable income can be quite high, and their actual income inequity isn't too bad. Really, it's actually not that bad.
They have a lot of weird social stigmas, though, like with mental illness.
I'm sorry, what?
I was just going to say, like, a lot of the things in Japan and a lot of Asian countries, it's like the weird social stigmas that still linger about things like mental illness.
Yes, they also have
women in
problems with gender
workplace.
roles. Yeah. And also, the
But
men
Japan's actually getting pretty, like, if I remember right, the Japanese government just, like, recently passed this huge initiative to tackle mental illness and, like, get people, like, back into the, like, they're basically selling it really cynically to, like, businesses to fund it. They're like, hey, if mentally ill people get better, they can work better.
Well, yeah, Japan has. I should first say the Japanese. It's not really that unusual for Japanese men to work, for example, 60 hours a week. You know, they have an extremely strong work ethic and a very demanding culture as regards that. And gender roles play a huge role in that.
It's like their economy's like usually in recession for some reason.
No. Their economy is actually doing quite well.
Oh, their economy's doing good now? Okay.
They're the fifth or something largest economy, which is
they fell back into a recession.
I think a lot of the issues with the women in the workplace have somewhat cleared up, I believe. Like, where did you last hear that, Matt?
No, they still have problems with that. They still definitely have problems with that.
I mean, they do, but like there is some progress there, you know. I'd like to see what you guys are talking about right now.
Well, we were discussing UK politics, and then I ended up making some.
Oh, I know about that. I'm talking about in reference to the Japanese, the social stigma regarding women in the workplace. There has been some progress on that, so at least that's what I understand. But if there's anything different,
there's been government efforts to change the culture there through the Angel Plan, which is a series of government initiatives to encourage men to stay at home and care for children, and basically to share domestic duties and stuff like that. But it doesn't resolve the problem, because it's not a matter of laziness on the men's part. They're literally overworked. They would literally be overworked if they also did the housework. I'm not being regressive here. They work longer hours than other nationalities by a considerable margin. So it's not really feasible for them to share the domestic tasks to the same degree, in my opinion. if they were not expected to be quite as dedicated to their professional occupations, and that would be fine if women were allowed into the workforce and they could utilise more people, then they'd probably be okay. But that's just not the case, unfortunately. And there's a lot of social isolation. I mean, a lot of reclusive people in Japan. There are people living in internet cafes now permanently. What I mean by that is of the cases I've seen, literally months at a time, people just moving into an internet cafe.
Yeah, there's an issue with like people like actual hermits as well.
Yeah. But it's funny because they're not hermits in the mountains in the traditional sense. I mean, somebody brought up.
No, they're like urban. They're urban hermits, basically.
Yeah, Japanese society is actually very difficult to navigate. From what I gather, they have, for example, a tradition called abanai, which says you're supposed to understate things. So, if somebody doesn't like you, or if you have a falling out with someone, they won't discuss with you what the dispute is. They'll just slowly, gradually alienate you. So it can be very difficult to deal with for some Japanese.
To be quite honest, we have that. That's pretty much a people thing. We just refer to that as passive aggressiveness, though. Like, I mean, that's typical workplace behavior, really, with a lot of adult groups and such.
Oh, sorry. Abanai is not exclusive to the workplace.
Not with just the workplace. I mean, like in social groups in general, you have that where you will have people who will just alienate you from a conversation or your social group that you're a part of. This isn't just the workplace. This is in general, because a lot of people don't handle interpersonal conflict.
Oh, yes, I understand what you mean. Perhaps the difference would be then that it's not specifically just social groups. It can also be in just relations between two people in particular.
Yeah, that happens. That happens in general as well. Here, like I said, interpersonal.
I can't do service to the scale of it to describe it accurately. It is vastly worse.
I can see what you're saying, but I suppose what my point is more or less that there's also an issue we have with people not being able to deal with interpersonal conflict, even when it comes to like a disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have people who just won't even talk, who you can have an interaction with someone and you'll think things go well, and then they'll just stop talking to you or no longer even acknowledge that you exist after, like, because you offended them in some way. And I don't mean like, oh, your PC offended. I mean, you offended them in some way, or they didn't like something about you and they just like excluded you. Like with Japan, it may have a particular name for it, but just with people in general, or at least from my experience, it's that there's an issue with people when it comes to interpersonal conflict, and you don't really have tools to deal with that, so people just ignore each other, or their issues with one another go unsolved.
Oh yeah, I understand. I do understand what you mean. That's not a unique phenomenon to Japan, but the fact that it's prescribed as the socially appropriate way to deal with conundra, with social complications, it is unusual. It's considered the correct way to deal with social problems, which is not traditionally considered the same way in the West.
I would say, I agree with you. I think it's like a mix of the two, in that I agree with you that is bizarre, but also not so much when you think about how we're taught, like how adults are supposed to handle conflict, and that you're not supposed to get angry at someone, or if you do get angry at someone, you should be really measured with how you do it. And instead it comes off more as basically we're taught that you're supposed to almost be polite with people, regardless of if they upset you or something, because getting upset is what children do. It's not what adults do, and that's kind of something you see throughout, like in pretty much every aspect of our society, where people will get upset with one another, but they won't tell each other why they're upset, and because of some need to be polite or some desire to be more mature, because like mature adults don't argue.
I I typically find it's the other way. I think that, or sorry, it is a different way. Well, sorry, I say the other way because I think it's more of a superego kind of thing. Like a child doesn't want to displease their parent, perhaps. Adults are afraid of legal consequences of saying something offensive or aggressive towards
Yeah,
another person.
I think that's a fair. I think that's a
And
fair
as an
point.
adult, you're expected to assume increased liability in those circumstances.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that's a fair point. I would say that
I,
is a fair point.
I think that is a form of political correctness, and that is why Trump is somewhat popular right now. Well, is quite popular right now. But so there is a problem, but he himself is also a problem.
Uh,
Well, do you think there is such a thing? I mean, political correctness, I encountered the term in the 80s when I was going to college, and it really wasn't anywhere else. And I thought that liberalism was about free thinking, and Jimi Hendrix, let your freak flag fly and everything. We weren't trying to make correctness. We were trying to break down correctness, maybe broaden it, and just get rid of it, really. We weren't really going to think in those terms.
the issue I see is that
Is it
at
really
least
a problem?
I would say this. I would say this as far as someone. I guess you could basically call me an SJW, quote unquote, right? But I do find it is
Nigger,
somewhat.
nigger, 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 nigger.
Eh, 5 out of 10. That was pretty good. But I suppose you could call me an SJW somewhat. But and I do find that within certain circles of people, who are aka SJWs as well, there is a sort of walking on eggshells kind of effect where you have a tendency to be more worried that something you say or do might be offensive, and I can kind of find, and I find that somewhat stifling, to be honest with you. That's primarily why I made another account, to be honest, because on Twitter, because I have a lot of people that again that share my same political beliefs and shit, and if you follow the wrong type of person, there is a kind of backlash to that. I'm not saying that doesn't exist in other communities, but it is a concern of mine.
I just don't worry about it. I haven't worried about that at all. At
Well,
all.
I guess my thing
So
is
long.
that like you, Piro, like you're friends with like a fairly vast number of individuals and shit. So there's probably less of a concern. But if you're more, I would say, connected with
Right.
people, with more SJ people, you could like there's a greater risk of you probably losing more friends or at least being afraid of that happening. Because
That's true.
that's
Yeah, that makes sense. No, because I'm not group oriented. And in college, I argued with people kind of on some of the same parts. I mean, I was at some protests where I was yelling at all these liberal Berkeley kids that they're just socializing. They weren't really doing political activism. They were just socializing. But I also found in Berkeley people that were doing real political activism. So, um, I just feel like things going, there's a long tradition of acting like everything going on campus is important. Like, oh dear, but guess what? College kids are morons, and they're a lot of privileged moron age kids, and it's worth talking about, but I wouldn't take it too seriously what the mainstream of a bunch of idiot kids are saying.
I mean,
I
I
don't
guess.
think it's fair to discount them, really. I don't think it's fair to discount
Discount
undergraduates.
who?
Under,
Undergraduates? Oh, well, that is what I'm doing, so I guess I can't complain. You're misrepresenting me.
I guess I can't. I guess my main thing is that like oh, damaged is here. Um, but yeah, I guess that's really my, I suppose, only real opinion on that issue. I try not to say away, not to comment on it. There's actually a lot of things I don't comment on simply because, uh, I do have a concern about who I do piss off or offend. So, I guess that's why I'm like hesitant to have to express certain types of opinions or like certain statements that are made.
Interesting. Because I would say I'm that way. I mean, I try to be polite. There's definitely things I've learned not to say. On the other hand, it was years before I would, even not say the N word, and I still say that often, but, I don't want to not be able to say a word when it comes up. But, so there's, I've spent in the past worrying about that probably. Maybe I just learned it. You know what I mean? And also, I don't interpret my current hesitation of saying the wrong thing. I don't feel there's a dominant force. I feel that's my own desire to be understanding, or like Mel's Basket Case on YouTube opened me up to the reality of mental health activism and made me think about some of the things that I might say in certain circumstances. And I was glad that I thought about that. I'm searching out. So, but it is there what you're talking about. I mean, obviously, you can be ostracized from a group of people.
It also probably has to do with age, right? Like,
Yeah.
typically people who are older didn't really have this much of an issue, or whether it wasn't much of a thing as opposed to people who were younger, and so like they encounter that more as well.
Yeah, that's true, except for, Berkeley in the, 80s and early 90s
Yeah,
was,
that's true.
it was developing there. And like I said, there was this concept of politically correct that was dogmatic that I rejected at the time because it was like, here's a laundry list of things you're supposed to believe. And nobody really believes all of them. And then people are fronting in the whole college thing of trying to impress friends. And it's kind of disgusting. So I did see it, but there is an age thing in that was just campus. Outside campus, you're having a world that looked like it needed people to be politically correct. You know what I mean? It's like it's a dogma, but I still prefer it as a dogma to the one that we had when I was a kid in this country. So if it's really taking over, these Vic people should understand is like, I'm not going to say that's all a bad thing. It has to be compared to what we had before. Granted, it's worse than what we're going to do next, hopefully.
I think that there is a difference between political correctness and just knowing how to have polite conversation, or just have a flowing discourse. Which the guy who was on at the beginning, I think that even though you didn't like it, Pyro, I think that that's what he was trying maybe to say, although I'm not sure of his motives. But I mean, you can say anything. It's just how you say it, the syntax you use, right?
I hope. I bet he's on fucking Brandon's Hangout too when that shit goes up. Because that's where that's where everyone who was on here fucking goes. Like, it's like they come through here, they get filtered out or something, and then they just like end up in, I guess, Brandon's sink. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you have to remember that this is Pyro's chat. This is Pyro's hangout. So
Yeah.
Pyro is leading the discourse, and
Not really.
well, but that's kind of how it works, right?
Well, if
I
it
mean,
all falls apart, it's supposed to, but
yeah, with Pyro, it's always been like really, really loose, right? You come in, if you have an opinion, you express your opinion. Like, really, the only kind of, I guess, exceptions to that were what Gary and Vic. But then with Vic, it's somewhat understandable because this shit's been going on for like months.
Yeah, and where
And it,
Gary's just
Frankly,
insane.
I would like to talk about the things we learned from several months of conversation
I do miss
dominated
Gary.
by this Vic attitude, and we have learned enough to talk about it without hearing the same thing. There's a way to reduce the information that we've learned into more information. For example, it turned out to have to do with the defense of low information. And it had a lot to do with, well, you don't know, I don't know, I'm not an expert, so we could be bigots. And that's interesting, right? Is that really the difference? Yeah, I think maybe that's the difference. Whether or not you are obligated to learn something about what's going on in the world, or you can just have a half-assed opinion. And if you're allowed to have a half-assed opinion, of course you could be a racist, because, you know, it's one of the shallow half-assed opinions out there for half-assed opinion-wanting people. And so, and how are we going to work that out? Am I supposed to meet that halfway? Because I don't really intend to.
I mean, I can't really blame you, to be honest, for feeling the way that you do, because you can only ask, okay, you can only make this hypothetical so many times. Like,
Yeah.
if you see Infinity wear your red shirt, the blue baseball cap, and you see a bunch of other people wearing red shirts and blue baseball caps.
Well, and also, why give the same example? Can't he have memorized the answer? The answer is, yes, I understand what you're saying. You have zero information. You consider this more than zero. My answer is, get some actual information and make a decision based on that. There's no secret. It's all out on the table now, and I disagree. I think you're obligated to get some more information before you shoot someone.
Do you
That's
want
just a difference of opinion.
Do you want to talk to Vic about this again, or like not about this subject, obviously?
Yeah, I
but
didn't
about,
ban him from the room forever. I should have probably just silenced him or something, but
or do you want, because we can probably like talk to him about at least the fact that it seems like the conversation has just gone in circles.
well, yes and no. I don't care. I enjoy Vic. He's always welcome to come back here and have a conversation when he wants to. But no, I don't feel we were getting anywhere with it, and I don't understand why we couldn't at least get to the point where he understood my story. He still believes the same social justice things he always believes, like we'll forgive a rapist if he's the right race or religion or something weird like this. There's no remembering my version of my story. I remember how his words about his story. He's supposed to remember mine, and then we'll both understand where we disagree. I don't think we're making any progress on that. He just doesn't get why I don't accept the low information approach.
He's concerned because maybe maybe it's an emotional thing with him that he just doesn't, he has his prejudices and he needs to defend them, and that's pretty much
Well,
it.
that is what it comes down to, and I how can I continue to be fair about the matter when that is how I see it? Because it's not like we're saying he's not on board with grabbing your wallet when a white guy runs by because they're the ones that are running all the banks. You know, it's very selective when you can use these purple cap indicators, and it's basically like using the Bible, where it can mean whatever you want, and you get to say God is of your opinion. No,
I think I think
disagree.
I think that the more immediate approach is not without merit, but it's not becoming of a police officer. It's really, especially when working from basic aesthetics like the colour of one's outfit or the style of one's outfit. That's more of a military approach, really. And what I'm worried about in terms of the United States is that, unlike a lot of other countries, there isn't necessarily a thick line separating paramilitary police and regular police. There are SWAT teams, there are specialist branches, of course.
Yeah, that's during my life.
The introduction of SWAT
military, beginning with SWAT, I'd say, but of military tactics in policing in this country. It's very common now. They use those SWAT teams for just ridiculous things. You must have read.
Yeah, but Pyro, it was inevitable if you have the leading country spending by far the most on military equipment and fighting in multiple locations over the world, eventually that military equipment is going to come back into your country.
If criminals
Not to mention, wait, Pyro, not to mention the fact that you got a lot of soldiers coming back who are joining police forces. And you've got all this military equipment that they know how to use that's coming back to the States and being filtered into.
If you're going to let all the
force.
citizens have these weapons, then you're going to have honest-to-goodness snipers where you actually need a paramilitary Army Ranger type SWAT. Squad rather to take them. So yeah, but and I'm not necessarily against SWAT like it started with really serious hostage and bank robbery hostage situations, but you know, you just really can't trust the police forces in all these little towns to police themselves in this, and now they just do it for crazy things, and it's a scam. I mean, it's a scam basically to get money from the state and federal government. A lot of that stuff, you know, Homeland Security's given a lot of Humvees to local police departments, and they're allowed to buy spy equipment and all kinds of stuff. So,
but that's Pyro. That's what happens when you have a military state. When you are the world leader, it's just like Rome. You know, it's You have to embrace.
Well, this is part of American exceptionalism, is that we could have a military martial society but not have a police state, and that just doesn't happen. They will have to converge again.
But your whole country is based on being able to arm yourself and defend yourself. You know, everything grows from that.
But the thing is, I'm a constitutionalist in this sense, and I just read it, printed out and read it. So, we're supposed to have a militia where the country actually, the military that defends the country is actually people that can form, and it wouldn't be a standing military, and therefore it wouldn't really have a presence outside of our borders. And that is the Second Amendment. That's why we have the right to guns, is so that we can form these militias. It's related, and it's still a good idea. This is how we should have our military, and it would naturally not be an international force. It would be very unlikely for it to go over to another country and attack it. So
but that's not how it went, is it?
No, but that's what Ben Franklin wanted. I don't see any reason we couldn't do it. I mean, and it's mentioned all over that all these constitutionalist right-wingers, well, they should just read the Constitution more, because, and then I talked to my mom about it, and she totally misunderstands, because she's thinking of the people that are calling themselves militias now, and it's like, no, it's a well-regulated militia. It would answer. It would be like, to get a gun, you could get almost any kind of gun, maybe even a bazooka, but it would be a permit process, and not just a permit process, but you'd have to come down and show proficiency with it. You'd have to register where it was. You'd have to agree to have a commanding officer that in a time of national security, you become part of the National Guard, basically. And in a way, there'd be more regulation about guns, but there'd be more freedom. And I would see even, tanks. There are people in my town I would trust to hold on to a few tanks, so that my town has a few tanks if we're invaded. I mean, I would. There are not everybody, but there's people, and so why not do that if it means that you save all this money and empire, the cost of empire building, and how everybody hates us.
Yeah, but Pyro, why would you need a couple of tanks in your town?
Because you have no military. Because there are tanks in this area that could be mobilized or moved if somebody were to invade the United States. And so if you need tanks for that purpose, they become distributed in local armories, just like there used to be local armories, and now there pretty much aren't.
I just gotta say I'm surprised Infinity hasn't weighed in, because I think you usually have a... what is your opinion on this, Infinity? I'm curious as to what you think.
Well, I was going to ask, what was the basis of the regulated militia? Well, I mean, what was that based on?
What do you mean based on?
I mean, why was that idea coming to fore?
Well, my understanding has been influenced most recently by reading the biography of Benjamin Franklin, and his idea was pretty clear. He didn't believe in having a standing army. after the revolution, those people should have gone home and kept a militia. There would be they would be soldiers. They would have officers, but it would be more like the volunteer fire department, or people could be called instantly. But and if the Canadians tried to invade, we'd call everybody local up, and everybody all across the country would get called up, and they'd show up there. And you'd need transports, you'd need planes, you need all the regular military stuff. But since you don't have a standing army, theoretically, I forget where the quote came from, but like you don't have the army ever go more than a few hundred miles away from the border. Now, in the 21st century, that's not realistic. We have it's a world, it's a whole world. I think you could deploy anywhere. You could even take your militia and go fight in Iraq if you really wanted to. But it'd be much less likely than when you've got hundreds of thousands of soldiers waiting around to kill somebody. If those people were making cars and stuff, they're probably only going to go kill somebody when it gets really like, holy shit, we better take a break and go kill somebody. So that's the idea. It's in the Second Amendment for the well-regulated militia. It appears elsewhere as an assumption in the Constitution that there would be this well-regulated militia. The closest thing we would have to it is like the National Guard, where people, go and they not boot camp, but they train on the weekend. That would be a militia kind of activity.
Yeah, and they're issued guns by whoever organizes the whole volunteer organization. They don't actually have the guns with them all the time.
No, but you could in a militia, you would, and they would have the right. And it's just like, police officers are able to buy weapons that aren't legal for regular citizens, right?
Yeah.
SWAT type teams.
If
It would be like that. You trust this person. Now, if you made a mistake and caught them on cam beating somebody up or shooting somebody, I guess they need to be fired. But in general, yeah, you need to have people in that position that, yes, are also and would be trustworthy with the weapons and their purposes.
What were you going to say, Infinity?
Well, my understanding of why that is in there has a relationship to trying to prevent a slave uprising.
Yeah, and also don't forget you wanted to kick the British out.
So I mean, yes, anything you can imagine wanting to defend yourself, it's a distributed idea of defense. Is that the people can defend themselves. Those are the guys you're going to call up to die in an army.
I'm just saying.
So they can just have the weapons, hunt with them, protect themselves locally from a band of thieves or anything else. And that's the justified use of guns. And we don't need army officers to be the only ones entrusted with that.
I'm just saying.
I do believe that.
I'm just saying that specifically that the well-regulated militia was designed to prevent a slave uprising.
Well, and
that was the reason why it was put in there.
Well, then why was it never developed? For some reason, whatever the reason, and I imagine there was more than one reason. I believe that Benjamin Franklin's reason had to do with what I said, but I agree that could have been a very influential reason, as far as I know.
What was the Confederacy? What was the Confederacy, if not
I was about to say that, Vivian, because it flipped on them when they started fighting amongst themselves.
I mean,
North versus South.
That was a huge fear amongst the South, is primarily.
Well, that's probably why they went along with it.
Because they, it was, I think, I could be wrong about this. I'm not a historian, but from what I understand, that was a driving factor. Not that they just went along with it. It was a driving factor.
Well, no, I mean, but the thing is, I think it's pretty clear that Americans relied on guns, and they actually used guns to hunt and actually eat and feed themselves, and they relied on guns. Plus, there was people that sometimes, Indians that they wanted to fight. They were all into their guns. Now, in the South, having the guns and the slaves don't have guns, that's one thing that the gun, you feel safer. But it's also true that some people thought these foreign armies were the root of a lot of power and evil in government. And that's another reason. Now,
well, I think you're presuming your
Where
conclusion.
are you going with it, though? It doesn't change whether or not it's a good idea.
Let him go. What are you
I think you're presuming your conclusion in there somewhere because you're saying, well, it has to be about just people owning guns. It has to be just about people owning guns. No, that was not what the That's the
Wait, what are
point
we
is,
arguing about? No, no, wait. Are we talking about the militia? The need for a well-regulated militia and the right to have guns is in the same section. So those are
right,
related.
but no, because it's essentially the same thing. The way
I thought we were discussing why would they want a well-regulated militia, and I said the
well,
reason I want one, but the
what does
reason
the
you want one,
amendment state? I guess is the primary thing.
it's very short. I'll go
Read
look it
the
up.
amendment.
Right. It doesn't. I don't think it explicitly talks about individual rights to gun ownership, but I could be wrong.
Well, that is often debated, but I think it does.
Okay.
But let's see. That's not a good one. Here we go. Wiki will probably have it, right? Text of it. There's the text. Okay.
This is the
A
second amendment.
well-regulated
All right.
militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Right. So it's entirely connected to the well-regulated militia.
Yeah.
Which is completely related to keeping down slave aggression.
Well, you're saying that. I mean, that's your position. I don't
Well,
know that's completely. If not completely, I would disagree that it's
says in
possible
the
that
sentence
there are
stated.
other reasons that were given for it. So when
Well,
you
that's
say
my understanding of the historical force that was behind it.
Yeah, but
well, I read a biography that talked about it with a lot of evidence about there being a sentiment that they didn't want a standing foreign army that would.
Okay, well let's imagine for a moment that my understanding of the history is correct. Would that be a problem?
no, let's run with it.
Not if it's the same thing that I'm talking about, and no, because I think the reason we should have a militia is to not have a standing army, and that was mentioned by people back in those times, so I can't hardly claim to have reinvented and repurposed this. But if I am repurposing it, fine.
Well,
Right. Okay. Then my complaint
Well, I want to
has
ask you
no
back to
force.
the question. No, it doesn't have no force. It's a good point, and I wouldn't
not
want to
a
look that up.
complaint, Infinity.
But I want to put the question back to you then. Let's say that the point of the amendment and of people having a right to buy even assault rifles is, well, those people might also have to join the militia to get that right. Like your gun permit might be that you have to go to the gun range with your lieutenant and, show that you're well regulated. And if that is the reason to not have a standing army, I mean, do you support the Second Amendment in that case?
It's a complicated thing for me to say whether I support the Second Amendment or not.
Right.
Because the way it's interpreted, in many ways I agree with, and in many ways I do not.
Well, let's talk about this little detail you brought up. Is it an individual right? Because I think saying the right of the people to keep and bear arms sounds individual to me. It's a group of individuals. They're people, but calling them people and putting it that way, you're obviously saying individuals can have arms. Otherwise, you wouldn't put it that way. You'd say the military, you know what I mean? Men of age.
Well, the only point I was saying is it was entirely connected to the idea that we have to prevent slave uprisings.
That's my point. Was that
that sounds like a slur to me, like an anti-Second Amendment slur.
But Pyro, that
what
was
if
written
it's
a
not,
long
though?
time ago.
What
in
if,
the context,
I've answered that, and it's true that it could be a really predominant reason.
I'm just saying that there's a connection there, and historically. So,
Yes,
if you don't want to accept the connection, that's one thing. But if you say it's irrelevant, then we can move forward. I think it's relevant. I think it matters to how we.
It totally matters. It's not irrelevant. I think I want to accept a version of this where what they had was a bunch of colonies in a very loose federation, and they were saying, how can we have a national force when we're not actually creating a nation, but a federated group of nations, of states, then what we'll do is we'll all be willing to raise up an army. That's what revolutionaries do. That's what kingships did. Everybody sends some local people off when they need to.
And you're saying the reasoning behind it is beside the point.
Well, no, right there I was saying I think it's not very strong argument that the slave thing is the only reason, right? But I do also think, yeah, that it's irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. It's very interesting historically, and it might color things, but it doesn't affect my view. My view, I think, is more analytic of if people were allowed to have their guns and they were in a well-regulated militia, then we wouldn't need to have a military-industrial empire state, and we could free ourselves from a dependency on war economy. So it doesn't matter if it was originally to put slaves down, because that's not what it would be for in my theory.
No,
Sorry,
yeah.
I just realised I was muted. If I could just say two things on this. First off, I don't believe that the actual intent of the Second Amendment was to defend the United States. The United States was formed with an ethos of expansion, with a strong ethos on expansion, and continues to use the modern U.S. military terminology, project power across the world, but and models itself to quite a significant extent on the Roman Empire, actually. But that's to address the historic meaning. In the modern day, I believe that the Second Amendment is very important to talking about states' rights, because if interpreted in the context of a governorship raising a militia of its own, that means that there is a potentially sizable military force at the disposal of each state, which means that it has authority, at least by force of arms. It has authority to rule, which puts it in direct competition with the federal government. Perhaps not military competition, but it does mean that citizens may feel conflicted as to whom they pledge their fealty.
The thing for me, being a Canadian, looking through the Canadian spectrum towards America, is that it seems to me that when the Second Amendment was written, you had a large, massive country divided up and fighting among itself and not trusting each other. And then you had the native thing, you had the slavery thing, and isn't the slavery thing part of what created the whole Civil War? And so I think over your 250 odd years of existence, the American mindset has simply fallen in love with guns. Because I grew up, my father was a gunsmith, and I can honestly say it's a real thrill to shoot a gun. And I think that there's now this emotional attachment to gun ownership, and there's a kind of an American thing that sort of bred paranoia because of its history amongst yourselves.
Well,
Okay, go on.
Well, certainly there's a psychological / cultural aspect to that, the whole framework of owning guns in the United States. I don't think there's any doubt about that. How this is all parsed out legally, though, is the issue. And so I actually think that what Piero stated was sort of saying that what I brought forth was the historical sort of foundation for the Second Amendment is, at least if what I'm saying is correct, and it's my understanding, and it could be wrong, or it could have some things that would mitigate it. But if what I'm saying is correct, it seems to me that he is saying it's irrelevant because you can interpret it in a way that fits the modern times.
Yeah, and see, I would disagree with that. I think that basically modern times has proven that the Second Amendment was written in a time where it might have made sense then, but it doesn't make sense now. And I think, isn't that the big debate in the States, whether to change the Second Amendment, get rid of the Second Amendment,
Well, that sounds
alter
like
it?
what you're saying. We should
Yeah.
probably get rid of it.
Well, or at least alter it. I mean, when Pyro talks about if you want to own a gun, it means you have to actually take a course, maybe join. I wouldn't say the reserve forces, but that there has to be some serious attention and oversight to you being trained, to how to background checks, to psychological checks. I mean, I think that we should take the fact that you own a gun far more seriously.
The United States has taken steps in those directions that you're talking about, but it
I
seems to me
agree.
you're being more fundamental in saying that, and I think the consequence of what you're saying is that what I'm saying in terms of the foundation of the Second Amendment is actually that is relevant to determining how we move forward. So.
How is it relevant? Explain that to me, please.
Well, it seems to me you're saying that we need to change the Second Amendment, or we need to either change it or abolish it, right?
Yeah.
So in doing so, then we do have to understand its origins, we have to understand its actual meanings, we have to understand if our modern interpretations of it in legality, in those terms, if that is correct.
Okay, so explain the legality end of it to me, please.
Well, I don't know if I can be specific on every point in legal terms. That would require me to be really well read on this and be able to pull it up out of my head. But in general, we have the United States Supreme Court has upheld the Second Amendment over and over and over again as being as the stance being an individual has the right to own a gun.
But doesn't the NFA always, the National Rifle, or the NRA have a lot to do every time it goes to the Supreme Court?
Yeah, you can argue that their decisions have been incorrect, but then that just goes back to my point, and that goes back to how they're interpreting the Constitution.
Yeah, and that goes back to my point, is that emotionally and psychologically you're hanging on to the guns. You're hanging on to any old ideas that will keep the guns in your hands.
Right, but you can't interpret the Constitutions technically on emotions, so that's why you have to have legal interpretations of it that have a basis. So that's sort of beside the point.
Well, here's the thing about law, is that law is basically won and passed by the guys who are the strongest in the system. So I'm not sure. I mean, it's well known to anyone who isn't American that the ethos of American thought, of American culture, is I deserve the right to have a gun. I love my gun. I love my gun.
Isn't that more of an That's more of an interpretation based on.
That is my interpretation. Absolutely.
I think she's right. I mean,
perhaps to a degree, but you got to remember, like, America isn't just one gigantic culture. It's many cultures that make up one country.
Right, but you can't deny that as a general statement. The gun culture in the United States is highly prevalent.
Yeah, we do have a gun culture here, but you also got to look at the pushback and the amount of people who don't share that enthusiasm with that culture, or else this wouldn't come up. So, or else the gun scares wouldn't come up so often on Fox News.
Yeah, but they never went in court though. You know, even after you have a
Yeah,
bunch
but
of
no one's looking to remove all guns from all people.
Yeah,
Like,
but why is that the case? Is the question, and the
I mean,
question that's answered by what she is saying, I think.
I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't even say that because I'm not I'm a liberal and I'm not necessarily pro-gun, but I don't think we should strip guns away from everybody in the country. There's lots of people here who use guns for things like fucking hunting.
Well,
Okay,
I would agree with you, but why are we on
why do you
that
need
side of
handguns?
it?
Why do you need handguns?
For some people from fucking self-defense.
Okay, but if nobody had handguns, or if the only handguns that people could get were illegal ones,
Yeah,
and you spent half as much money on making sure they didn't have handguns as you do spying on your own people, maybe it wouldn't be so necessary to have a concealed weapon.
Yeah, but you can say, like, maybe we shouldn't have knives or sharp objects. Like, come on, there's
No,
like a... Yeah,
that's
there's...
not what I'm
I mean,
saying.
but when you say we need to strip away all guns, that way there won't be any guns and there
No,
won't be
I
a need
said
for guns.
handguns.
I'm sorry, if we strip away all handguns, and there won't be a need for all handguns, you can say that about knives. If we strip away knives, then people won't get stabbed.
No, there's a big difference between a kitchen knife and a concealed handgun. There's a massive difference.
You can still kill someone with both.
Okay, but
It's a lot easier to kill someone with a handgun.
It's a lot easier to kill someone with a handgun, but then to say that we should remove all handguns, in spite of like anything and everything is ridiculous. I think it's a stretch.
Right, I just think that comparing it to knives
I
not a fair way to...
I think what Black Massa, I think what you're saying is the exact kind of rationalization that keeps guns in play in America and keeps the court siding on the Second Amendment.
Okay, but all right, but I'm gonna answer you in a second, Damage, but I want to say this to infinity. But that may be granted, it may not be the exact same thing, but it's more or less a weapon, and that's kind of the point that I was trying to make. And there's only so many things you can use.
That is a really weak argument.
I wouldn't say that.
Listen, I respect you tremendously, but that is a weak argument.
I wouldn't say it's a weak argument. I mean, it's a weapon, right? So, if I stabbed you and you die, you die either way.
Let me tell you something though. Let me just say
baseball, because I can kill you with a baseball bat.
Okay, so then let's limit baseballs then, because if you throw a baseball at somebody hard enough, you'll fucking injure them.
Yeah. So you know what? You're only proving my point, my love.
But then how? How am I proving your point?
Because you're taking something that's really common sense and turning it into an irrational argument.
How am I turning it into an irrational argument?
Because there's a huge difference between a kitchen utility and a firearm that's made specifically to kill. A kitchen utility is not made
Okay, then. Take any object. You can take any object then. Let's find another object that's meant specifically to kill someone with, which you can do. And
what object is that?
Okay, there are lots of knives that are made to fucking kill people though. They're like combat knives. How about that? I'll take a combat knife. Should we ban all combat knives?
That's created for the military.
I mean, you can fucking buy combat knives though.
We don't have a problem with people killing people with combat knives.
Hello, testing.
I mean, we don't have a problem with people.
But I'm going to try to. Can I just break in here?
All right.
Please do.
I mean, this is retarded though. We do have a problem with violence in this country though. It may not be with combat knives, but you can basically use any weapon.
Listen, no one's saying as an American, if you want to kill somebody, you can find a way to do it. As any citizen anywhere. That's not what we're talking about,
But
though.
like what you're talking about is removing handguns. What you're talking about is removing all handguns. That's it. That's all you're talking about. And it's ridiculous to just remove all handguns.
Why is that ridiculous?
Why isn't that ridiculous? You can use a handgun for a number of reasons, for a number of things. You can use it for fucking self-defense. You can use a handgun to help with hunting. Like,
oh my God!
There are other things you can use a handgun for.
Okay, you know what?
I've been trying to get in for a while.
Okay, you know what?
With my mic. Does anybody hear me at all?
We can hear you.
Vivian, we hear you.
Thank God. Okay,
we can hear you.
I've been meaning to come in now for a few minutes. Sorry about this. That was my fault. I've been trying to get this damn thing working. Yes. Where was I? I don't think it's so much a matter of American identity, more generally. I think it's specifically a Caucasian and Anglo-Saxon kind of concept. Maybe slightly Scandinavian as well, but and from other parts of Europe. Basically, I think that Infinity may not be right about the involvement of the Second Amendment in being rationalized by fear of a slave uprising. It's possible, but I don't think it's the case. But even still, the gun is seen as an embodiment of white privilege, I think, as well, especially in the context of that's why the Black Lives Matter movement is picking up so much ground right now, I think, and why really I don't ever really. I think I've come across one African American online who seemed really in favor of firearms, but it's pretty rare. The gun movement in the States, at least judging it from a distance, seems to be populated much more so with Caucasian people.
Because they're afraid of black people.
There's also a lot of Caucasians in this country, and I just looked up fucking hunting handguns, and you can fucking find that there are you can use handguns for more reasons than just kill other people.
And also self-defense from animals, but
she won't acknowledge that because that's a weak argument, because that's Damage's mindset. Anything that disagrees with her is a weak fucking argument.
Oh, come on, I'm not that bad.
Yes,
please.
you fucking are. Come on, really? You just sat here and said any argument is a fucking weak argument.
Well,
and that any tool used to fucking kill somebody else with is something, well, you can use anything. Come on. This is ridiculous.
I said the weak argument, let me be clear, I said the weak argument was to compare a kitchen knife with a handgun.
Okay. Because even though you can kill someone pretty damn quickly with a fucking knife. You can kill
someone with your bare hands, for God's sake.
Okay, can I finally interject?
That's retarded. Okay, go ahead, Infinity.
I think it's crazy to say that a knife and a gun are the same thing in terms of their propensity to be able to kill. It's obviously so much easier to kill someone with a handgun.
I'm not talking about ease of killing. I'm talking about the act of killing.
Well, technically, you can kill someone with just about anything, yeah.
Yes, I'm just saying it's ridiculous to say we should limit something because you can kill somebody with something.
Even if it really makes it easy?
I mean, you can fucking stab somebody with a fucking knife.
Well, yeah, but that's hard to do.
Hold up.
No,
I think I see
no,
where.
No, it's not. It's really not.
No,
yeah, it is.
I'm gonna get into this later.
Because even if you stab somebody, you're much more. If I can finish, you're much more likely to kill someone with just one shot of a handgun than you are by stabbing them a few times.
You can also shoot somebody and not kill them.
Of course, but I'm saying what the probabilities are. I'm saying what the emergency rooms are saying. If someone comes into the emergency room with stab wounds, they are much more likely to survive the stab wound than if they come into the emergency room with gunshot wounds. That's just
but that's not my argument. You can still fucking kill someone with either. It's ridiculous to say because guns can kill.
Yeah, but you can't make. I don't think it's reasonable to say that you can make the argument that handguns should be allowed because people can kill anybody with anything.
I'm not saying that I'm just saying that it's ridiculous to say that handguns shouldn't be allowed because you can kill because you can kill other people with a handgun. You can kill anybody with anything. That's
but
retarded.
the point is that handguns should be limited, at least, I think. I don't know what.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I think
you said that if there were no handguns, then there would be no need to defend other people from other people with handguns.
Oh, yes, you're right. And I said that was in theory. That was an intellectual, theoretical thing. I said, you got me there. I agree.
Well, I'm in the middle on the handgun thing, but I don't think it's fair to say that because someone can kill anybody with anything, then therefore handguns aren't a problem.
That's fine, but my argument is that it's ridiculous to say because if there were no handguns, then there would be no need to defend other people with handguns, which is what Damage said, and which is what I was arguing against.
Well, then you shouldn't use the knife argument.
That's fine, but like I said, it was in reference to if there were no handguns, then there would be no need to defend other people with handguns. To defend from other people with handguns, so.
Oh, okay, I take that back then. Peace.
That was good. That was a good discussion. I'm glad I came in for that. That was awesome. Thank you.
And like fucking Vivian said, yeah, you can use handguns and shit to defend against fucking animal attacks.
Yeah, and you know what? You can also use bear mace.
I don't.
Okay. Let's please just. Can we just move on to something else, please?
What shall we move on to?
I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Does anybody here code? Like program anything at all?
Piro, but
Barely.
he's not here.
Yeah.
Barely.
No.
Sorry, I'm just making a sandwich. I will be right back.
I mean, I've done some codes before, but that's not my profession. I can do it in certain areas.
Yeah. I've been learning JavaScript recently. I should probably ask Piro. I don't know.
Hey, we could talk about legalizing marijuana outright so that anybody can grow it, sell it, smoke it, use it, make cookies with. Let's talk about marijuana.
I think everyone here agrees with all of that, probably.
Oh
I
shit!
don't
Then there's
think
no
I do. But yeah.
Vivian doesn't agree.
No, I do agree.
Oh, alright, never mind.
Just being sarcastic.
I think the whole drug war should be demolished. I mean, that sort of plays into what we were previously talking about, because if you didn't have a drug war, then you could feasibly, really push back against ownership a little bit stronger, because then the gangs would have to spend more money on firearms to get their firearms, which is where a lot of our deaths are coming from.
Well, if you legalize, sorry, Joe, go.
Oh, I'm just saying that's some racist ass bullshit. What do you mean by gangs?
What do I mean by gangs?
Organized drug running.
Is not a
Drug
racial
distribution.
statement.
So I refer to gangs, and therefore that's some racist ass bullshit.
How does that make sense? It doesn't.
That's
even
fucking
begin to make
racist.
sense.
Why, Joe?
Joe equals troll.
Y'all
Yeah,
making it
Joe,
like
you've
black
got to be
people,
trolling.
man.
This is ridiculous. People can talk about criminal gangs without specifically referencing the ethnicity.
But what y'all have against a gang, man? What y'all beef with gangs?
Well, why don't you
besides the
support
stabbings
gangs?
and the shootings, the
I
terrorism
wanna
is
know-
a big problem.
Yeah, let's hear the argument for gangs.
Well, gangs do shit for our motherfucking community, you hear me?
Okay, what shit's exactly?
Yeah, like shoot each other up. Like
Yeah,
that, for
what shit you
example.
done for
Gang
us
the
lately?
motherfucking family, man.
Gangs
We
protect
ain't
their
getting no
family.
motherfucking jobs up in this bitch. So that's the only motherfucking way we break some bread. You hear me?
Man, that's nuts. Gangs fucking kill their own families.
Joe, what region or city or neighborhood do you live in?
I live in Hartford, Connecticut.
Hartford, Connecticut.
Oh, what's so funny about
Joe,
Hartford?
you're rich,
It's
man.
not known for gang
I'm
activity.
from nigga, I live in one of the most dangerous places in America, nigga. What you mean, rich?
I'm ready to kick Joe.
No, this is amusing.
Joe,
This is
I
amusing.
am Irish,
Yo, you shouldn't
and
have
we
tried
are
to fake
You
it.
ever
considered.
heard of Hartford, Connecticut?
Yo, homie, you shouldn't fake a fucking accent or whatever the fuck you're trying to do if you're trying to troll. I'm just saying, yeah.
Who said I'm trolling?
I said,
We're saying you're trolling.
I know you're trolling because you're trying too hard to sound like a nigga. Nigga, that's why the fuck I know you're trolling.
So you're saying I'm white?
I'm not saying you're white, but I know you're not trying to sound like how you think you may sound. You don't
So
sound.
how do you come up with the conclusion that I'm black?
I don't think. What are you trying to sound like?
That's racist
What are you
bullshit.
trying to sound like, bro? What you trying to sound like,
I'm half black and half Hispanic.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right.
Congratulations.
You trying way too hard to sound like you hard. This is all I'm saying. I ain't
So where
saying you sound like
from,
any ethnicity.
Y'all from the fucking suburb. Y'all can't come to motherfucking
You say suburb like that's something hardcore to say. It's not. It's really not.
Y'all a bunch of rich motherfucking whiteys, man. Y'all ain't never fucking struggle,
Okay,
man.
yeah, you're trolling like fuck. Can we get rid of
Do you have anything to add to the conversation at all?
Vivian ain't white, man. Vivian is like Portuguese. Fuck you, nigga.
Yeah,
It's Portuguese.
You know what, Joe? I am fucking Irish. I am transparent white, and I'm more of a nigger than you are, bro.
Oh my god.
Hey, you're a motherfucking devil. You're fucking pink.
Troll? You want to troll? I can troll too, motherfucker.
So that's why when you go in the sun, why do you turn pink? You a fucking devil. You a fucking Edomite.
He's. You troll. You suck at this shit, homie.
You know what? Not only am I Irish, but I'm a redhead. Therefore, I am soulless, motherfucker.
No.
I know you are.
It's just
Are you fat?
A common myth.
Are you fat?
Are you fat? This is awful. Jesus Christ.
No, I'm not fat.
Guys, can we get rid of this guy?
I might be ugly, but I ain't fat.
Okay. I will fucking. Let me see.
I've muted him.
You need. Alright, I can eject him if that's what everybody wants. It's up to y'all, really.
I vote yes.
I think he's trolling.
Alright, wait. Damage wants him gone too. Like.
See you later, Joe.
You need to work on this shit, cause like that's some weak ass fucking trolling on. Fuck out of here. This bullshit. Yeah, it's fucking trolls. Alright.
Hartford, Connecticut.
I have to admit
That was hilarious.
It was a fun diversion.
It was good. Except he lost it. He stopped being funny.
I mean, his accent slipped a couple of times, so that really messed him up.
Oh, you know, I forgive my language, but you know, I'm a redhead and we're really emotional people, so.
Oh, come on, redhead, emotional. Give me a break.
You never heard of the redhead temper? Oh, come on.
No, it's just
how
it's just a myth.
does
We
there?
made it up. We made
I
it
thought
up.
that was well known. No soul, big temper.
Yeah, just
No,
like
no,
transparent
over
white.
your shoulder is well known.
Okay, I'm kidding. I'll drop it. I'm just joking. I'm just a human being.
Well, at least
Go
look.
touch the dragons.
Vite wanted to say something earlier, but like I think we just ran all over him. What did you want to say, Vite?
Oh, that's what I was saying. I enjoyed the conversation. I'm working with little man right now. I wish I could jump in more, but he's about to fall asleep. So I'll see y'all in a sec.
Or or when Brandon puts up his chat, do y'all want to go over there? Because he gets really pissed off lately when like non-objectivists show up. It's funny as shit. He's so angry lately about like the fact that Vic has been showing up in his chat. Because he's like, I don't want these non-objectivists in here, and I'm like, well,
I guess,
I mean,
yeah. Vic is giving him shit, right?
Yeah, he is. Vic is giving him shit and pissing him off. And Vic uses a lot of, like, hypotheticals. Like, he used a hypothetical about, like, what if he's... Because they were talking about can you prove God's existence? And...
Oh, brother.
Vic used the example of what if he saw a leprechaun that jumped on him and did everything to prove that it was real, and it lasted for a minute, and then it left. Would that be real? And then like for the rest of the fucking night, Brandon was pissed.
Oh Christ! Because where I come from, that's just a hallucination caused by drugs.
That's funny, but like, somebody else asked him, well, what if it was drugs? And Vic's point was that this is a real event that wasn't caused by a hallucination. This was something that really actually happened. A little leprechaun jumped on him, and Brandon got pissed off because because he wanted him to use like shit that happened in reality, like what if you saw a car crash or something. This basically things that happen in reality, and the fact that Vic doesn't do that pisses off Brandon.
Yeah, so now he knows how we feel.
Yes, he does. You had some echo damage. That's why I muted you. But yeah, and now Brandon is just pissed. That's why he told me to fucking regulate how long Vic could talk about this fucking subject with other people.
Well, maybe Vic just got bored with us.
No, he got pissed.
He's pissed off.
He's being a baby. Yeah.
Oh, is he? All right.
He's pissed off because he got kicked out of here by fucking Piro.
Well, maybe Piro should offer an olive branch.
Well, to be honest, I would not have kicked him. But
here's my thing. Do any of you want him back?
I don't really care.
I don't really.
Okay, Vivian, you don't want him back? So, Infinity, you're apathetic?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I agree with Vic on a lot of shit, but he's got all these racial hang-ups. He just wants to talk about that shit all the time,
Yeah, he does. Like, Vivian, why don't you want him back? I'm actually curious.
Vic?
Vic, yeah, why don't you want him?
Because he called me an elitist asshole.
Oh, well...
Yeah,
that's a good reason. I think he's called everybody a name at some point.
Yeah, his for me is like because I accuse him, as he puts it, I accuse him of being a race realist, which just kind of gives everything away at once. Rather than saying accuse him of being racist, he says that I'm an elitist and I'm just too out of touch with people.
Oh, that's just your accent. He gets all confused with.
Oh, yeah, sorry, forgive me. I've got to sound like the people he's used to hearing, and I've got to look like the people he's used to seeing.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
Alright.
It's probably just him lashing out because he's pissed at what you're saying.
Yeah, that's probably that too. But it could be about my appearance and the way I talk. It's because the Irish are the niggers of Europe.
Oh shit! All right then.
Yeah, it is bullshit. Sorry.
Fuck. No. I was just saying. Shit. Then I guess that makes sense actually. No, I wasn't saying bullshit, but I get what you're saying makes sense. I can see why you don't want him back. If he's just gonna be like a dick.
Oh, he will be.
I'll tell you the main thing I don't like is he just has to dominate. He either is here and dominating the conversation, or he's just not participating at all.
It makes it really hard to regulate shit when he dominates the conversation, because then he gets pissed off at me if I moderate him too much, and then he wants to have an argument with me. and that takes away from the conversation. Yeah, I can see that. That is a pretty big concern too.
Yeah, it makes me wonder though the psychology of Vic. What's fueling that man?
Like, Damaged is mad polite, man. In spite of the fact that we had an argument, she's like really fucking polite. I love having Damaged here.
I'm a Canadian. We're bred polite. But having said that, we have deep suppressed anger. Vic was great for bringing my suppressed anger, and probably everyone else's.
Well, he has pissed off Brandon thoroughly.
Well,
and I know if I go in there, that's probably why Brandon canceled like twice.
I think I would actually enjoy going in there with Vic, because then me and Vic would just be teaming up like against him basically, and because I'm pretty sure that in terms of what Brandon presents, me and Vic would be kind of on the same page. And
so Brandon said, and I shit you not, the only good Muslim is a what? A dead Muslim.
Dead Muslim. Yeah,
yep.
Well, hey, listen. Why don't you throw up his G Plus address for Hangouts, and we can all go visit him.
If I can, let's see when he has it up.
Is there a way you can broadcast a Hangout on a Hangout?
I don't even know if you can do that.
And then we could just sit here and comment on.
See.
That would be funny.
We could craft this party. Why can't we do that?
He canceled it again.
Ah.
Shit. He's been canceling these because too many fucking non-objectivists have been showing up, so.
Oh, okay. Well, he brings it on himself, so.
It gets kind of tough to defend that bullshit after a while.
Like, too many, like, what did he say? He prefers it when only objectivists show up because they don't say things that don't exist in reality.
Oh, group hug.
Like, seriously, and it's like, really? Like, I didn't know Brandon was like this closed off to any sort of discussion with other people.
I'm not convinced that he cares about reality all that much.
He's like, why don't you use examples that are reality? And then he kept getting angrier and angrier, and Vic doesn't listen to him, and he doesn't really know how to regulate the room.
Is this on YouTube?
This is on YouTube.
I might have to check that out.
This is why he's like, when I show up, like, miasma, fucking punish anybody who goes over the time limit or something, or punish anybody who goes back to this topic. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm sorry, go ahead, Damage.
I was just gonna say, objectivists fall very easily into the role of fascists. That's what I think. A fascist.
Yep. Oh, also, like, I had to break up the conversation that Vic and the other dude were having because Brandon was pissed off. Because Brandon was pissed off at the fact that we just kept having these examples that were like aliens and UFOs and all this other shit. But then I'm like, we have to kind of use those as hypotheticals to some degree because we're trying to prove that God exists, and that's not an easy question to like do. But then he wanted it ended, so I had to break it up. It's weird because like it has a kind of weird like, you know, not circle jerk. What is it? When it's in a bubble with other people who agree with you. Echo chamber. There we go.
Cliquish.
Cliquish, yes. Or an echo chamber. Yeah, it is. It is, and he's been canceling all of these lately. He invited me to join some. Let me see. Okay. He invited me to join. It was a atheist versus theist G plus group and another thing.
Oh my god.
That had to do with atheism versus theism, and I'm like,
but you know, You know that's an argument waiting to explode, right?
Oh my god, I really don't like. To be honest with you, I really don't want to be involved in that. Like, I just don't care about this shit anymore. Like, do we really have to argue about fucking atheism versus theism all the damn time?
No.
What's up, Vivian?
I'm just so beyond even having an argument about it at this point. It's been so many years since I've had to debate anybody on it.
Well, I think the atheists have pretty much won the argument. I mean, now they're resorting to basically saying that circular reasoning is valid, and my circular reasoning is more valid than your circular reasoning.
Oh yeah, and then there's this whole clique of atheism plus, which I find insane.
Well, that's pretty much dead, though. That's been dead for like a couple of years.
Well, someone should tell Steve Sheaves that then.
Shives?
Shives, yeah.
I don't think he does he do videos about Atheism Plus?
It's because Atheism Plus has similar opinions to SJ's, so I can see why, like, it seems like he's a part of A Plus. No, he mostly just hangs out in, I think, SJ circles on Twitter.
Yeah, and declares himself a feminist. So, but I mean, wasn't that what atheism?
I declare myself as a feminist, so.
No. But wasn't that what? Okay. Wasn't that what Atheism Plus was about? Was
yes.
Yeah, a lot of it was related to feminist social policy.
Yes.
Like especially abortion. That was a really big topic in that regard.
Right.
I think it was social issues on the whole, though, as it turned out, and it didn't work because it's just too much. It's too much to bear. It's too much weight to consume with the atheist movement.
Yeah, because all being an atheist is simply saying, I don't think there's a God. And if you put anything more onto an atheist than that, then you've just left the whole atheist conversation.
Well, yeah, but I think it put what my point is that I think it put too much pressure. It put too much pressure on that movement, because then it became, okay, well, we're going to be this this particular type of liberal, and that whole movement was strained enough as it is, because you're fighting against this I find it ironic ultimately, but that's beside the point. You're fighting against this extreme element, especially within the United States, that is going to be very hard to overcome. If you complicate matters, it's just going to make it even worse. So,
well, it also has the potential to, how shall I put it, to perpetuate the atheism if it gets tied to something else. If you get a sort of platformist kind of thing where it builds up momentum that way and becomes a lot harder to stop. There was a real chance at that time that the atheist movement could have kind of stopped being a thing, but it did actually happen to continue, thankfully. But I think it's going to have to come back in a big way at some point, because the Christian movements aren't simply disappearing. They do still exist. They do still operate.
Well, we can't keep denying that. I mean, even though I'm not on board with the whole, here's this atheism plus thing, and let's all get on board with that, because it's too complicated. But at the same time, you have to recognize that, yeah, there are some feminist elements here, because we are saying that we're against this religion, which is producing all these aspects of their religion that are, in fact, patriarchal and are afflicting women in certain ways.
I think that would be more in reference to an anti-theistic movement, wouldn't it? Because as atheists,
No.
well, I mean, as atheists, it doesn't really imply that you're anti-theist. It just means that you don't believe in a god. There's no inherent anti-theistic nature to being an atheist.
No, but the atheist movement has to deal with the actual material elements that they're fighting against. So they're fighting against these actual religions. They're not fighting it against some sort of philosophy. I mean, ultimately, that's what it is a philosophy, but these are actual religions. It's not these concepts. You know
I mean, yeah, but like, wouldn't it be religions on the whole, though? And well, I mean, I guess you have.
Yes.
I guess you're right. I don't
Yes.
know.
Well, what?
But go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think I'm back. Atheists need to figure out what they're replacing religion with, because a lot of time it's just some other little dogma of little rules or some other, or maybe science can be the Bible. That does happen. The creationists complain about that, and it does happen. And they need to figure out what to replace it with, because they haven't figured that out.
But why is that? There doesn't need to be a replacement.
There does.
No, I disagree with that.
Well, what's your epistemology then? How do you base your knowledge?
You mean
when
like
you get down into fundamentals? You have to have a philosophy.
Oh, so you're speaking from a philosophy point of view. You're not speaking from.
Yeah.
You're not speaking what religion does.
Well, I guess one way of putting it is, if you want to be atheist, you're going to have to realize you have a philosophy. You know.
Yes. Of course.
Right, and so it doesn't have to be religious in the pejorative of you're just believing in a Bible. But I was saying it pejoratively because there are people that just, like Thunderfoot when he's arguing with Eric Hovind. He didn't have anything to go to. He's like, yeah, the universe could be. He didn't know where his own scientific epistemology is really coming from. He didn't know how to argue.
Right.
And so, in the end, that's dangerous, because you can just pick and choose and believe whatever you want. He can do the same thing a religious person does, because if it's just a little dogma list, you can always just put another one on the bottom. You know, it's not like there's a principled explanation that'll guide you to what you're going to consider bullshit or not, when you're going to base your opinions. And frankly, Thunderfoot's probably a great view, but I'm biased at this point to say he shows that, you know, he does, you know, he believes whatever he wants and it's all equal to science. His views on sociology is equal to his scientific views.
Yeah, it's almost unfair to point to Thunderfoot, because he's such an idiot that, you know, it's just too easy. But I get what you're saying.
I've been liking that he will debunk solar roadways and this kind of stuff. If you've seen that.
Oh, he did a great one on Musk too.
I was just about to talk about that one. No, he's a fucking idiot, and he's a liar. Okay. Well, for example, in there he used as his reference point a vacuum chamber they use to a huge one. Well, guess what? First of all, the tubes are not vacuums. Second of all, they've done the math of having pumps. The tubes can't be leaky.
Yeah, it's impossible.
No, it's not impossible.
Well,
it's not impossible. Thunderfoot's full of shit. No, that's not true.
I happen to agree with Thunderfoot.
Well, the white paper does not say. It says 10 times higher atmosphere. Could you have it? Need that.
Who are you talking to, Bubba?
Someone here, my wife.
Oh.
So, it has 10 times higher atmosphere pressure than what Thunderfoot said. Thunderfoot went and talked about a chamber that's made to have like 100,000th as much pressure. And they've done the math. The idea, you can read the white paper yourself, it's open sourced. The idea is that you can have a regular tube, and this is the pressure that you'll get with the regular tube, and you just have a pump that can pump at that pressure and keep that pressure. And the idea is that there's air in there, but it's thin enough it's moving along with the cars. So, and Thunderfoot just lied about that. And also, he was not criticizing Musk. He was criticizing these people that have a test project in California. Musk created a white paper. They are making a different system, and it has different specifications, and maybe it is a scam. But he didn't focus on that organization. He focused on as if Elon Musk's idea was a scam, and it's not. And the fact that he says, oh, also another thing he points out, these vacuum tubes ideas have been around forever. That's right. I remember reading about one like in 1984 in Science Digest. But the difference is that really was a vacuum tube, and also, yeah, so are pneumatic tubes. These are real things. Yes, it's an old idea. And guess what? It's not a bad idea. There's certain reasons that it could be a good idea.
Yeah,
And in
but
this case, it would be a great idea.
yes, but Pyro, you're not shooting a tube at hundreds of miles an hour with live people in it.
So,
I mean, can't you see with the
like an
technology we
airplane.
have now
I've heard of it.
how problematic that is going to be? You have one joint,
engineering.
hundreds
Why
of
is that-
miles of pipe.
It's engineering.
Okay,
It's called
maybe I don't.
engineering. It's problematic.
I mean, we got the magnet trains to work. I
Yeah,
think
but they
it's
don't
very
work in a
interpretation.
vacuum, Vivian.
Well, it's not an entire vacuum, but so what?
Why is a vacuum that inherently impossible?
Because we live in an atmospheric world.
Inherently impossible.
We don't live in outer space.
Nobody is
Mama.
trying to make a perfect vacuum. It's a
However, we're
tenth
not trying to
of
make a perfect
it's.
vacuum, yeah.
You can look it up. I'll look it up in the white paper if it would help, but it's
Okay.
not a vacuum.
Okay, hold on.
It's low pressure.
All right.
It's, you
Right,
wait,
the
do you
point-
think
the
how
point
many
is
in
that-
your house do you think use low pressure?
Okay, guys, hold on for 1 second. Vivian, what did you say? Because Vivian was trying to say something, but we talk all over.
I was just saying, and Impero is quite right. It's not really relevant, but it is impossible to create a perfect vacuum. But that's all.
Okay.
Right, which damage. Do you think that that's the claim?
Not exist.
Exactly.
It doesn't exist. Period. It's not even a matter of whether it can be made.
understand, and
Well, I
concede
think
that
damage
that's nobody's
thinks
right
maybe
there,
that's
so
the
you're
problem,
absolutely
though.
right.
Okay, let's stop.
Okay, because, well, okay, what I understand is that if you have something shooting through a tube at a very high velocity, any small thing, including a bit of atmosphere, can throw the whole thing off.
Yeah, and
I'm
decelerate it
just-
by a few meters per second. That's not the
What do
end
you mean
of the
throw
world.
the whole thing off?
It can lead to deceleration, but it's not a catastrophe.
Yeah, like a
It just means it
flame,
goes
a
back
plane
to
flying
its
through the
normal-
atmosphere.
Okay, come on, let's stop talking over each other, y'all.
All right, I will concede that I don't know everything about this, but I am.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something real quick.
All right.
I hope that you don't listen to Thunderfoot and just think that he's right on everything he says, because most of his videos are bullshit.
Okay, I don't. And I do think a lot of it is kind of a waste of time. Like right now with his whole heat fucking camera, it's like, oh, give me a break. But
Okay, I don't watch his stuff anymore, but everything that I have watched in recent memory, it's been pretty much bullshit.
well,
Even this whatever you're talking about. I mean, he might put up a science video. Look at the pretty colors I created by putting these two things together. There's a simple high school chemistry experiment.
he does all that.
Other than that,
he
there ain't
does
a
all
lot
that
there.
he does all that just to get chicks. Like, you realize?
Yeah, and you think that's
so
good?
ironic. That's
Well,
so
no,
ironic.
I'm just
He's
stating what I
like
think
one
is a
of the
fact.
proto MRM.
Well, if he
He
does
really
get
is.
chicks, then that's sad.
Because he's really, I think Thunderfoot, to be honest, it was really one of the forerunners of the MRAs. I honestly think that he contributed immensely to that.
Sure, yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Thanks for coughing into the mic there.
Oh, sorry. I was just looking up. It's 1.4 psi. I had to talk to my wife there. So 1.4. And what is? Isn't it 15? What we have normally. So that's a tenth of it.
On the ground.
Yeah. Well, I think that's right. I'm gonna look up the white papers too.
So So yeah, it's a tenth, let's just say.
The point is
So that how much of a vacuum is that? Yeah, it's more. I don't. What do we have in our refrigerators? There's low pressure, super low pressure little tubes. What are those at?
I don't know.
Anyway, it's not a vacuum, a tenth of the pressure. And it's a matter of math. Can you pump that out of a steel tube or not?
Yeah. Okay. Hang on, I'm reading. Sorry, it's not very entertaining, but.
Well, it depends on the material you're using, and then you get into, the expense.
So, okay, I just looked up. I don't know if this will be true, but it's, HVAC talk. Low side test pressure on a domestic refrigerator. 1 psi, this guy says. I don't know if that's true.
Well, wait a minute. Are you talking about the line or the refrigerator itself?
I'm talking about the
line. The line. Right?
Well,
that's
yeah,
what
I'm
I would
just saying
think.
how
Yeah.
okay, not to get into the refrigerator. It's just the thing that I thought of. I know it uses pressure and there's a low pressure part, and so I'm thinking in my house, what is there? To get an idea though of is that really unreasonable? A tenth of putting a human in something of that low pressure might not have happened, but is it really that?
Yeah, because
I'm familiar with making. I mean, there's a lot of experience internationally in terms of constructing pressurized cabins. It's not, for health and safety reasons, that much of a technical hurdle to overcome.
Exactly what I was going to say. You have a pressurized, a pressurized thing inside a almost vacuum tube. Okay, so that's a lot of science going into this, and
Here's
we're
the guy
at.
says the whirlpool has 9 psi.
Well, that's a you can do that. The question is the cost.
Well,
we
according
proved
to
you can do that.
Okay, maybe I wasn't listening because I'm reading this at the same time. Are you talking about the cost of the Hyperloop?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I believe his estimates that the stupid low-speed train that they're building in California, it's going to cost like $1 trillion.
And I'm reading that right now where he makes that argument.
But how much do you think the Hyperloop would cost?
Well, they have estimates. I mean, I don't want to say, but he has estimates. It's less. It's something big, $100 million a mile or something shit. And I don't quote me on that. I mean, it's numbers like that. It's expensive, of course. You're putting big steel tubes, and even though they can be leaky, we're talking about heavy-duty things that don't leak, still leak when you're talking about pressures down like that.
It has to be a very, very special type of material that you're using.
No, I think they're just talking about.
Well, it has to be extremely strong.
Well, it has to be aluminum or steel or something. It's not has to be carbon fiber.
Well, it has to be able to support.
Okay, here's something he did say, but they talk about it in the white paper, earthquakes and things. That's the tricky part, having these joints be resilient enough.
Okay, Vivian has been trying. What are you trying to say, Vivian?
How many people is this supposed to transport at a time? For that pretty significant. I mean,
each car would have. It's based on a car, like in their sketches. Here's a car with a 3-person or a 6-person car. That's like the size of a van, and it shoots along in the tube. And probably the most tricky part, I think, in the end, is
how many vans in the
scheduling.
tube?
Yeah, scheduling, and if something happens, making sure one doesn't ram into the other and stuff. On the other hand, guess what? If one rams into the other, shit happens, okay? Planes also go down. We have 1,500,000.
Okay,
yeah, 1,500,000 people. Yeah, no, nobody ever dies. Okay, do you ever drive? Yeah, do you ever drive in a car?
Please don't move aside.
Well, you're interrupting me. Look, shit
to
happens.
Okay.
And every kind of transportation.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Trains go off the track. People wreck their cars. Planes go down.
We have to let Vivian talk, okay?
Hold on. What is
a considerable amount of money, and from a utilitarian standpoint, it's important to ask how many persons at a time what is the capacity in terms of people
Well,
that Hyperloop can transport?
they say that each car has to be something traffic lights pair are less about 10-15 kilometers or 900 miles apart.
Also, Brandon is here. What's up, Brandon?
What's up? You guys seem like you
Hey,
needed
Brandon.
irrational.
Needed you, that's right.
Brandon, you
Summoned you.
babysitting?
Hey, Vivian, I'm looking to see if the white paper makes that kind of estimate in there.
Well, it's not what the car. It's not the representative.
It has costs in the white paper, by the way.
It's not what the car can take at a time. It's just the overall systematic rate.
I knew it was gonna happen again. I knew it was gonna happen.
What's
He was good.
I think we got a kid. Yeah, I
That
think we
one
got
was
a kid.
fucking retarded. Alright.
I know you're babysitting. Yep.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, we
yes. Yeah,
Okay,
you're good.
stuff. Good stuff.
Okay, here we go. 840 passengers per hour.
can. Okay, there you go.
Right, that's what I was saying. It's the overall systematic rate that matters.
840 passengers per hour. That's pretty
That-
dreadful for that expense. I mean, I understand it's high speed, but even Concorde wasn't this expensive. It's
How expensive?
Well, yeah. Then you
How
have to
expensive
rate.
did you
Then
say?
you have to have a
No,
rate.
no, I
of,
told you, don't quote me.
million?
I don't know. Let's look in here. The tube. It has the tube. The white paper has all these details, at least the SpaceX estimates. So let's see if there's tube costs.
Brandon.
One time.
I was just saying it was big money. I wasn't saying it was 100. I mean, I don't know what it is.
Cash money.
I'd be shocked if it wasn't 10 million a mile or something for something like this, because it. Anyway, looking.
Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar,
Cash
bill,
money. Dollar bill, y'all. Exactly.
And the thing is, Vivian, it's what their estimate is that it's cheaper than the system per mile that they're building in California right now. So.
The cost is on
Yeah,
page
that's-
38.
That's the critical point. Like how we move
Oh, no.
forward with our infrastructure.
Sorry, it's not. It's on page 23.
okay. Just a second now. Just open this up then.
But wait a
Capsule.
minute. Thunderfoot said it was bad, so we don't need to look at it anymore.
Oh, come on, Infinity. I just meant that what Thunderfoot was saying, part of it made sense to me. I'm not a genius, so maybe
Somebody pass me a link.
maybe
He's
he gets
being
scores on
snarky.
that.
I'm just saying Thunderfoot's not the best representative to
Okay, I agree.
refer to.
Alright.
I got a question.
Why is it not? Oh, there we go.
Okay, wait, what
23.
is-
Are you sure about that? Well, let me just ask.
All right,
23, you said?
They say the total for the Hyperloop is 54 million.
Billion.
Okay, that's not so.
And I think that that's really
That's
conservatively low.
San Francisco to LA.
Oh, right.
Okay, what's
Well, what is that?
Vite? What's your question, Vite?
I don't want to derail too far off, but I saw that Dawkins dude was in here again. Was he starting shit earlier?
No, he said nothing. He said
He just
nothing.
came in and just sat.
Yeah, he had no pivot point, I guess. I don't.
That's you called it. You called it because he was probably waiting for it.
Yeah. I think we were talking about the gun rights issue at that point, and he just was like, "Oh, I can't get anywhere on that." So
Bible doesn't say nothing about machine guns.
Oh, we didn't even raise that one, please.
I wish that he had said something because I missed all the crazy
There's
shit
that-
from Dawkins.
Yeah,
I don't see
I
how
wouldn't
this
mind
is
going
possible.
toe to toe with him again. That shit was hilarious.
Also,
I thought it was unbearable.
Also, Vite, do you have the strength to come into a room with Brandon? Because if Infinity is still up, I'm going with him.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, we'll see how it plays out. You know.
Hey, I
No,
don't.
no. Hey, you guys. The 50 million is just for the capsules.
You want to come too, Damage? Yeah, you can come.
That's
Jimmy,
just for the
come.
capsules, you guys. Yeah, because I looked that up, and that would only be $100,000 a mile, and highways cost less than that. So that's just the capsules.
Yeah, and connecting Los Angeles to San Francisco is another $61 million.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh no, that's cargo, crew, capsule weight. Yeah, cost breakdown.
No,
Yeah.
those. I think you're. No, I think you're looking at the capsule stuff.
Oh, am I?
Yeah,
Oh.
no. The tube. Okay,
Wait a
wait.
minute.
Look. Okay, wait. The tube wall thickness, blah blah blah. The calculations were
It
made
is
for a
on page.
larger diameter tube, and now it's down here on page. I don't know what this
It's
page.
page
But
38. If you
anyway,
want
it
overall
says
cost.
in that case the expected cost for the tube is to be less than 1.2 billion.
Oh,
Oh
okay. All
God,
right.
no. This is
So one
absolutely
point.
not worth the investment.
Well,
You're wrong.
what page is that on?
Yeah, it is. It is worth it.
1.2 billion doesn't sound that bad
Yeah,
compared
that's
to
how
a
much we
lot of
pay
other
for
projects.
freeways, and bridges don't cost more than that. I don't know what you're talking
But
about.
it's
That's
a
way cheaper.
single. It's a single. It's a single path that can only transport
Everybody that goes,
people per hour.
it can travel.
Okay, here's another breakdown.
It can transport enough
If-
people. The number of people that travel between those two cities by air every year.
It could transport other things too, though, theoretically, right? It could transport
Yeah.
goods as
Yeah.
well.
Sorry,
right?
I thought you said it was
Cargo,
only
anything.
300 or so people
Anything
per
shove
hour.
in the
No,
shove in the
I don't
capsule.
know what it,
I'm glad you stopped yourself there for a second. Damn it.
Yeah.
800,
Yeah.
840 passengers
I
per
caught
hour.
that.
Yeah.
840 per
Here's
hour.
here's another money statistic. 31 million per kilometer. 50 million per mile.
Where's that?
On
doesn't-
page
that-
42.
That sounds like a lot more than a billion. Anyway, it says the whole thing a billion for that project, and for a high-speed rail, it's a lot cheaper than the one they're building in California now. And it may or may not be a good idea, but his debunkment was not at all honest.
Oh,
Okay.
I
Well,
understand.
I'm agreeing with that now, and I'm gonna be more educated on it. And then maybe I'll comment on his video. I don't know.
Yeah, so I found Thunderfoot by like going through his like religious rants, and I was kind of digging some of his science and technology stuff. But then I was just kind of like, after a while, this dude's kind of got like the nan and the boo boo like attitude with the monkey and stuff.
Well, lately he's just gotten really juvenile, so I've just sort of, stopped watching him. But he was I resubscribed when he was talking about the Britics. So, Vivian, maybe you might want to talk about Britics.
Brexit.
Brexit.
I like the way you say it though, Damage. That sounds pretty good. Those goddamn brigands.
I love you.
So it's good to see you.
Yeah, it's always good to see you, too.
Thank you. It means a lot.
We ought to get together.
Okay. We want to work out something like that.
Look,
Always wanted to go
Except
to
I want
Canada.
to know. Except whose baby is that?
That's mine. That's my little young.
That's your little baby?
That's my youngin. First one.
Wow. So you're married, so really we can't get together then.
Vite is flexible though.
I'm about to say we got a little we got an open deal thing going on here.
Oh, I'm gonna have to talk to your spouse then.
Yeah, that's how that works.
I have to reconfirm these kind of things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, do you guys know what Twitch is?
No. What's Twitch?
Somebody was mentioning to use Twitch and the Hangout
Stream?
instead of this. Yeah.
No, you can only stream video games on Twitch.
Anyway, I'm applying for a job there.
Oh,
Nice.
good luck.
Moving out to California then.
I'm not in California. I'm in Maine, but it's a remote jobs.
Oh, okay. Good stuff then. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
because after all, he just moved.
I just got a house.
You might want to put in an application, check out Bandcamp. I know they're constantly hiring programmers and designers and all sorts of people over there.
I've heard of that. What is that?
It's a website for independent artists to sell their music. Bandcamp's got a really interesting legal thing going on with them where basically artists can put their music up there and the music's automatically copyrighted to the artist. So it's a way for artists to go outside of record labels and radio stations and all that stuff with jazz to like promote their music. It's really good. I've been a member of Bandcamp for like 4 or 5 years now, and they've gotten a lot better considering where they came from. But yeah, they're constantly hiring people.
So you do music then, Bite?
I'm a music. I guess I'm like a. I don't know what I am. I enjoy music. I'm like a music connoisseur, so to speak. Like that's a big passion of mine is music. I guess I do kind of create music a little bit. Like I like to sing, and I like a little bit of percussion. I played the trumpet when I was younger.
Like a little juke and jive.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Well,
so I got the jazz.
Piro, what happened to all your music videos?
Oh yeah,
They're
I
up
forgot
there.
about those.
They're up there.
They're still
Yeah, I
up.
mean,
Yeah.
why no more?
That's a good question.
The same reason there was never any before there. I mean, I've thought about it. I have a bunch of music equipment here, but I just play music. I've been thinking about doing because I have a bunch of new songs.
There you
Plus,
There you
I was
go.
thinking of redoing all the songs. I got one about Gary. I got one
Nice.
about Das Spook and Grey Tex, which I could add a fucking verse or two to now. And I got Run for President. You got all kinds of stuff happening. I got one on To Be Serious, one on John Paul Dorn. Oh, and my favorite probably about Professor Rant on. And
For,
the funny thing about that is I do play them a lot. I mean, I create songs and forget them, or I learn covers of other songs and I totally forget those when I'm not playing. I mean, I could pick them up, but there are some songs I've written that I play. It's kind of like a meditation, and I like the YouTube songs. They all have pretty good. I think they capture something about the people. Like Gary's is all about just going outside, swimming in pools, and hitting golf balls. Pretty much is life.
and running around his property naked.
Reading National Geographic, but not enough nature. Basically.
Yeah, and being angry that no women want him.
No, you don't. Are you kidding me? That's not what happened at all.
No.
Well,
No, Gary had
sexy
women.
singles.
Not anymore since he's become a willful shut-in, and a hermit. But Gary didn't have trouble with women. That's not a problem.
There
Look at that hair.
are tons of sexy singles just waiting for you. All you need to do is just dial 555-666.
And have a credit card.
Exactly.
Simpler times.
Gary's thing more is that he would have liked to just stay in his town. His town's full of really super rich people. It's one of the richest townships in the country.
Yeah, it is.
And so him trying business ideas and to open a yogurt stand or whatever it was, I forget. I think, it sucks. It's not very fair, and just because you could do something useful to the community doesn't mean you have a chance. And he spent a lot of time railing against local politics. In my view is you could tell Gary loves nature, was probably a nature hippie type child in the 70s, and then realized this was all bullshit.
He hates nature, right?
No, he loves nature.
He's burnt out. Right, but he's actually burned out and cynical. It's like an ex-smoker. He's down on the whole universe because the beautiful part still doesn't stack up.
Gary just hates deers because they keep giving him Lyme disease.
And I think as far as women, it might be true just to go ahead, not that I know, but, I think maybe he got disappointed in how the system works, and
well, he's a little too corrosive for most women to stick around.
Well, and I think he would have rathered that kind of thing, and the whole I think didn't work out well not because he couldn't find someone, but because of how it works out when you do find someone.
Yep, shit gets complicated.
Well, I once heard Gary talk about when he was younger. I mean, he grew up kind of. This is the way I remember it, is it sort of backwoods kid running around in the nature naked, not really bothering with humans, and then he grew up and got disappointed.
Yeah. Well, no, that's right, and I'm projecting on him because that's where I feel the same. Like, we grew up in nature boys, Twitter, and then the real world is really pretty gross compared. And then you watch a few nature documentaries where the the elephant gets eaten alive, and then the whole thing seems bad. I just realized I should write a song about Mr. Cropper.
Oh yeah.
You could
The
talk
legend of Cropper.
Shit tons of stuff rhymes with Ein and Rand too.
Hey, Brandon, I'm happy to see you.
Well, it's good to see you guys. I heard you guys were derogating Ayn Rand earlier and making straw men and then slashing the hell out of the straw men. So.
I've already brought mine up to you. My trump card, and there's other things, but besides, like, I was just, anyway, we could bring up this other one. I'm interested in what you say about this other one. I don't know much about it. I just heard, but mine is, you know, we've been over it before. I know what you're going to say. It's probably the same thing, but about her view on the Indians and the idea that us not keeping agreements with the Indians somehow is in line with objectivism, and it isn't. It just shows that she picks and chooses. But did you hear about this serial murderer that she said a lot of nice things about?
She didn't pick and choose. She's consistent. It's okay to make treaties with the Indians, but if they break them, then they broke them.
We broke them.
Oh, well, that's all right.
Yeah, see, but I know you can engage that argument, but that you decide not to is engaging enough. But what have you heard about this Ayn Rand's praise for the serial murderer?
Yeah, what was that guy's name?
This was news to me. I'd never known this one.
Yeah, because I just obviously I'd heard about. I remember reading about that dude back in the day. He was one of the early, like
William
he inspired
Hickman.
like Ted. Yeah, Hickman. Yeah, he inspired like Ted Bundy and a lot of other fucking crazy fuckers like later down the line.
Look, I typed. Yeah.
Enlighten me. Why would Ayn Rand be on the side of a serial killer?
Well, this guy didn't get a very serious charge considering what the fuck he did, so he was just, Ayn Rand just met him later on in life, and, you know, I don't think she knew about his backstory, really, but,
I think the only reason he was famous was for disfiguring a 12-year-old girl in 1927, and she, in her notes,
dismembering,
according to this thing I'm looking at right now,
dismembering a 12-year-old girl.
and she praised that he was raw, that there was no rules. You know, the bad side of Nietzsche, that Nietzsche didn't really believe, but that people put on Nietzsche. I would say that, you know, if you could do it, you know, natural-born killers, what you can get away with, you know.
I've everything Ayn Rand ever wrote. I'm not familiar with this. I'd have to see the quote.
Well, I think it's coming from her notes.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Okay, for example, this article from 2015, Raw Story, so take it as you will, in her notes, other people do not exist for him, and he does not see why they should. Do not exist for him, and he doesn't see why they should. She wrote, gushing that Hickman had, quote, no regard whatsoever for all that society holds sacred, and with a consciousness all his own, he has the true innate psychology of a Superman. He can never realize and feel other people. So I don't know.
Well, she derogates the Superman, though. So.
Well, but, okay, in theory, if you are a sociopath and disconnected from emotion, that would allow you to be objective if your intellect was sharp enough.
No, because
That's a good way to put that, Damage.
Well,
That's a good way to put that.
if you want to live for your own happiness, you can't disregard your nature. And you guys are talking about different ways of disregarding human nature. So if you live as a psychopath and don't care about your emotions or other people's emotions, and you think you're just going to figure out things logically without emotions, that's just bizarre, because emotions are the purpose of life. There's no reason to live without happiness. Happiness is the purpose of existence. It's just not the guide for existence. You guide yourself through reason. Happiness is the purpose, though. So you can't, a psychopath who has no emotions and doesn't care about other people's emotions is just missing out on a very, very important part of being human.
That sounds like non-objective points.
Well,
of
she
view.
said,
Right.
she said a sociopath, not a psychopath.
Well, all right, same word for me.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, no, they're very
Yes.
different. Very different.
I don't think so. No, the one has become.
Well, they're not mutually exclusive.
Right.
But,
Well,
In
actually,
general-
I believe both of those terms are now falling out of favor, and there's a new name for antisocial personality disorder that's brand new.
Okay, because here's my understanding of it. There is a genetic thing that you're born, that you've got issues with connections on emotional levels. Then there's the whole thing when if you have that and then you witness violence and you make connections to violence and your inabilities to connect to the larger emotional part of humanity, that's what creates the psychopath.
No, I think
Here, I have a question for.
that's just a cop-out. You're just saying it's not really their fault. All that was just saying it's not really their fault.
Cropper.
Yeah.
If you're defending her admiration for somebody that just might makes right, what I don't get is this then.
I didn't.
Okay, so those people like me have bound together, and with our combined might, we
Wait, he
are.
said he did not defend that though.
I didn't.
Okay, what?
So your premise is wrong.
And your
What are you saying then?
And your quote that you gave from Ayn Rand doesn't support what you're saying she supports. All she did was describe him as having character traits of the Superman. And she goes on and on about the Superman being not the objectivist ideal. So that doesn't go very far. The Superman, the Nietzschean Superman, the amoral, the man who's beyond good and evil,
Where's that?
Is a confusion.
Where does she go on about that?
In her writings.
Ayn Rand.
Do you have the lexicon at hand?
No.
If you have the Ayn Rand lexicon, just look up Nietzsche, and she says some things about him. You know, he's poetic and he's got this and that, but his metaphysics and epistemology is everywhere and it's confused, and his ethics is altruism. His ethics is sacrifice. So she doesn't say that the Superman or the Overman's a good thing. If she said that the serial killer shares traits with the Superman, that's not a good thing. So that's just somebody misunderstanding Ayn Rand. That's not Ayn Rand saying that a serial killer is any good.
Okay.
So there's my view of it. Take it if you will. But just get the lexicon and look up what she says about Nietzsche. The lexicon is like the dictionary of Ayn Rand all in one book where you can just look up any term or phrase, and if she mentioned it enough, then it has entries in there. So, all right. Well, didn't mean to put that subject to sleep,
but hey, wasn't Nietzsche the guy whose father was really mean to him?
All of them were.
Okay.
No, Nietzsche didn't know his father.
Freud's father was mean. Churchill's father was mean. So where does that get? What about Rockefeller and Carnegie? Carnegie grew up in Ireland or in Scotland, violent household and so on, became rich. So it's just excuse making. Some people come from very violent places and make something of themselves. Some people are pampered and turn out to be serial killers because their mom was mean to them when they were a kid or potty trained them wrong. So that's all excuse making. Well, we just need to have prisons and put people in prison when they do something wrong. That's the.
They were potty trained incorrect. They were poorly potty trained. That's why they became a serial killer.
That's Freud. That's Freud right there. So. Freud's falling out of favor. Happy to say.
It's about time.
Yeah, enough of the obsession with penises. Oh, wait. I guess we're going to get further into that because there's the tranny thing going on everywhere. That's just going crazy.
Oh, please. The penises that women get don't work.
I know, but the vaginas that men get apparently do.
Yeah, but to me, if I wanted to be a man, having my penis work would be really important, I would think. Just saying. And so, why bother to have an operation when you have to manually crank up some prosthetic? It's just easier to keep your VG and strap on a dildo. Like, I don't get it.
I have this image of somebody cranking up an old car when you said that, and it just sort of like starts vibrating.
Oh my God.
So I looked at that, Mr. Cropper, and yeah, it does say that was her opinion about Nietzsche and the Superman. So that's interesting. So I'm going to look into this more. I already was going to since I'd never heard about it, but I'm going to try to get a hold of the notes and read in context what she was saying as well.
Now, she liked Nietzsche's poetic capacities, so he had inspiring sentences and stuff. So you will find her saying that Nietzsche was nice to read, but philosophically Nietzsche was nowhere. So yeah. What was the straw man you guys had all built earlier about?
I'm sorry. I was thinking of Kafka.
We
That's
already
what-
went over it. We already went over it. The Native Americans, and she doesn't believe in the property rights of in general as an objective fact. They're just for her culture.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they're only for cultures that practice them. We would never invade Britain, for example. So
if I stop the practice here, then boom, I win.
if I
eliminate money and the concept of property, then we don't practice it here, and then boom, doesn't count. It's not so objective. It's relative.
Well, that's why we need the Second Amendment. I was shocked you guys had to look that up, but I guess it's the only amendment I really know by heart, so that's not fair. But
the thing is that we're in a democracy, and if we can't find a compromise of positions, then we either just split up, or it comes to a violent control, civil war. Is that what we want? I think we should divorce instead of beat each other up.
Or a totalitarian state, one or the other, or
No,
both.
well,
Both,
I'm not going to go for a totalitarian state.
Yeah, but if you bring in a civil war, you're going to end up with a totalitarian state if it's going to be resolved.
No, you can resolve it by a lot of civil wars have resulted in the two new countries. You know, they split in two. Then they have a ceasefire and start having two countries.
Yeah. And then eventually they get pissed off and start fighting again. That's history.
Well, look what happened to America. We had a civil war, and they never got over it. And then they started flying some crazy flag that they never flew before in the 20s and 30s because they still just aren't fucking over it. And I say, okay, our bad. You can't have your own country would be the reasonable thing to do at this point.
Nah, screw them. If they want to live in their own country, they can go to Mexico. Take that shit over. We won fair and square. They had a teeny tiny economy. When we started fighting the South, we had 95% of the industrial production in the North. They say the South will rise.
You only say that because you want them, because they agree with you politically.
Yeah, but where did all the cotton come from in the big mills in the North? I mean, the North and the South did business.
And they still would. If we were two countries, they would do business, don't you think?
True enough. You'd have treaties.
You say all the plants in the North and the cotton in the North, blah, blah, blah. True, it came from the South. Interesting that the South couldn't even produce its own cotton. It had to send it north to be processed. They didn't even have the means to actually process their own goods and sell them on the world market.
Mr. Cropper, I'm saying that I don't want to keep the South. It is not a big prize. They should be able to have their own nation.
No, why? Why? Mississippi has some good...
Because we're not getting along with each other.
Lose California. Come on.
No, we wouldn't. California wasn't a part of the Civil War in the South, but they could have Southern California as far as I'm concerned.
If you have an infection in your finger, you don't cut your finger off. You get rid of the infection.
Then we're going to have to all get along and find some form of compromise.
Well, we are getting along. We're doing fine. America's fine.
The gap between Hillary and Trump shows getting along.
That's fine. It's just...
How are we getting along? I'm not happy with the situation. I want lots of immigrants.
Well, let's say we had an out-and-out socialist in the White House who was trying to pack the Supreme Court.
That would be great.
In the 1930s, that was called the FDR scandal.
Oh my God! Yeah.
That
turned out terrible for America, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. We came back and became the most powerful country on the planet.
Yeah, just because we undid 95% of the legislation done in the 1930s. But look at the fact that those...
When did we do that?
In the early 1940s while we were fighting World War II. Because we had to have a productive economy. So just all these different micromanagement things, price setting and all this stuff was just erased. Yeah. It's erased it. So
yeah, that's true.
We're lucky.
But not the big programs stayed.
Yeah, I know, and that we're coming to answer for that. In fact,
Yeah.
launched last week about underfunding of these massive programs. So they're not being funded to the extent they need to be, and there are not enough new people being born to fund them, and we're gonna have to answer for that. We are answering for it because wages have been holding still for 20 years, and that's reality telling us that we are asking too much of too few people. So,
Well, that's reality telling us that if you want to move the factories down to Mexico so that it's cheaper, you're not going to have a job to pay for the cheaper stuff with.
Yeah, and then all those people that don't have jobs are on welfare. So if we put all the people on welfare into industries that we brought back to the United States, into small businesses, maybe you would have enough people.
well, just
Of
do
course you would.
welfare, and those people would be willing to take jobs at really, really low wages, and then they wouldn't lose their jobs to Mexicans who are willing to work for low wages.
And then we would have to have developers that made affordable housing so that things would be reasonable with those low wages.
No, people just have to get together in groups and buy houses. Or rent apartments. Life would be tough, but either we're going to work for $5 an hour or we're going to be unemployed.
I just don't understand, why do we have to work it out? We have 50 states. We could be 50 nations. Why do we have to work it out? Why? I don't want to. I want a divorce. It's unreconcilable differences. I don't understand why in the 21st century, now that we can get divorced, why it's some holy bond that I be in a big fucking alliance with people from Mississippi and Texas. I will agree. I will not kill your tourists when they come to my country. Things like that, fine. Why do I need to share a fucking president with them if they want to not have immigrants, and I do. They want to go have foreign wars, and I don't. Right? They don't want health care for all, and I do. Why do we have to get along? It's just like the 50s in a marriage. Like, because you can't afford the kids.
Well, you know what? I'll say this, because a lot of people like myself and Vite still live here. So, I don't like Brandon. Brandon's my homie. But I don't want Brandon to be president, though. I don't know. What would happen?
Had President Romney. Big deal.
Maybe.
It would be better off.
You say it's president, you say big deal, but that is a big deal to me. We don't have the luxury to just be like, oh well, fuck it.
It can just be legal.
Well, now we might have President Trump. What if the next guy is a Trump but a little bit more smooth about it? We could have a President Trump because we're schizophrenic with this back and forth in our head of whether it'll be Bernie or Trump. Are you kidding me? It's ridiculous, and it seems to me the same logic whereby the whole nation now knows. When I was a kid, there was still a stigma of getting divorced. I was one of the few divorced kids in school, and I stood out. By the time now, if your parents haven't been divorced, you stand out. So in that whole spectrum, how is this not exactly the same? Why the hell we have our separate state governments? Why the hell do we all have to be in one country when we hate each other?
This legal precedent could be the answer. Lincoln answered it. Now it's legal precedent. If you say you're going to withdraw, there's going to be a war. So it's just legal precedent at this point. I mean, up until the Civil War, nobody had answered that question.
Well, no, there would be no war now if the way you could separate the countries is with the Constitutional Convention.
That would be it.
Well, not a constitutional convention, I'm sorry, but with a convention, basically. You have a special...
We all know how well that
Congress.
works. What?
How well the Constitutional Convention worked? Yeah, it worked pretty well. I'll be right back.
Those were people, Jefferson and Franklin and stuff. I mean, now the ninnies that we have around, are you kidding? God, that would be a disaster. No, the best thing we can do is coast and be very, very careful about coasting. Try to shut the government down whenever we can. Keep the Tea Party in as much as possible. Don't let them do anything. Don't vote. That's the best thing we can do.
Actually, I agree with you.
Wait, this is like
There's no one to vote for.
Yeah. And
I absolutely agree.
you encourage them to think that you're out there actually, you believe in what they say. If you don't believe in what they say, don't vote for them.
Yeah. There's a lot of logic there's a lot of logic to that.
I disagree in this case, at least in the national election, because I've never seen a more clear choice in my lifetime. You've got idiocracy versus status quo. I've said it before. That is There's no more clear choice.
So
I'm going to choose
you're
status quo. Thank you.
My God, Hillary Clinton is a criminal. She's broken every law. Her
She's not a criminal.
her mental competence right
bullshit.
now is in question.
She's not a criminal. That's bullshit.
I agreed she's paid her dues and she's got the contacts, but she is in the pocket of every large corporation.
That's funny to hear Democrats.
Like I said, status quo.
Yeah, Democrats used to be for justice and change and fix the system, and now
I'm not a Democrat.
Well, you what are you what how are you different from a Democrat? You wear the same color pants as them.
I don't know what that means.
That means that you're not different from them.
Okay, so circular
Wait,
argument.
break that down a bit, Brandon. Break that down a bit.
It means he talks the talk. That's all.
Yeah. So why are you different from a
In
Democrat?
your mind, I do, I suppose.
Yes, very clearly. So why are you different from?
I'm not a Democrat.
I said, why are you different from a Democrat?
Because I don't agree with Democrats in everything that they do. So therefore, I'm not a Democrat. I mean, what do you want from me?
Well, I mean,
What exactly is it that Democrats do different from Republicans?
here's my thing though. Like, you don't
Well,
have to.
I can give you several examples of that.
Oh, please do. I want to understand.
Well, they typically don't. They're not as anti-science as Republicans. For one, they don't typically deny climate change like this guy does.
That's changing. They now say climate change is happening in spite of the science to the contrary. So they are turning out to be anti-science.
Oh, really? What science to the contrary
They derogate,
is there, sir?
They derogate science. They make fun of
Let me hear the science that defies the consensus on science that actually exists.
I'll let him go ahead, Brandon.
Activity is decreasing. So
What?
Solar activity is decreasing. That's going to lead to cooling.
Yeah, you're right about that. Solar activity has decreased. So what?
Well, now
that proves the point.
Wait. Let him finish his point, though, Infinity.
we're going to have the same cooling phase we had back in the 1970s. We're going to have like.
Well, you're making a prediction. You're not dealing with what's actually happening because temperatures continue to rise despite solar activity decreasing.
No, it's the sunspot cycle. There are fewer sunspots this year than in the last 29 years.
I understand what solar activity means. I understand that. I just responded to that.
Well, then it's not our factories. It's the sun.
What are you talking about? Solar activity has been decreasing while the temperatures have been going up. That's what I just said.
We should have a cold snap here within the next 10 years or so.
Oh, God, I hope so. This has been the hottest summer.
That's your prediction, then that's your prediction. I'm just saying you're predicting things. I'm talking about what has happened and what we can observe.
I remember when somebody said that volcanoes are why there's climate change and shit.
They're definitely affected, don't they? Like the ice.
No, Taylor, you're thinking of Von Helton, who said the sun's not hot.
No, this.
Rights.
No, it was this retard on Twitter.
And friction in space causes heat, even though that would not explain seasons.
It was some dumbass on Twitter. Not Twitter. It was like DeviantArt, and they were like, it's because of the smoke from volcanoes and because pigs fart.
Volcanoes contribute, and also with pigs, it's like, who the fuck do you think made all the pigs? Like, pigs are not a dominant species. Like, we made all the pigs because we like eating them.
Volcanic activity pales in comparison to human activity.
Well, how about China and all the pollution? They actually trace China's pollution over here all the time.
Well, yeah, China has surpassed the United States in terms of CO2 production.
Way past.
Well, yeah, but that's per year. They haven't surpassed us in total.
Germany is one of the worst, actually. Like, we're in the Western world, we're actually not the worst per capita.
No, we're not anymore. India also produces a lot of pollution.
Well, the point is that we're fucking up the planet. We're doing it systematically, and we will not change that system.
Well, you know, Mother Earth is amazing that way because she'll shut us down if it gets too bad.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, I know.
That's why it's a problem.
But also, Mother Earth cycles anyway, shutting everything
You
down.
know what's kind of sad though? Like,
Well, wait a minute though.
as much as
I'm
China
not sure what you.
pollutes, they're
I'm not
doing
sure
more.
what you mean.
What I'm saying is whether we do it or Mother Earth does it, it's eventually going to happen in some way.
I don't understand what you mean at all.
Well, because there's tectonic plates that are
natural
constantly
disasters, basically.
shifting.
Natural
That
disasters.
happens at a very slow rate. You understand that, right?
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, as mankind could probably go on for at least another 1,000 years before we pollute it so bad that none of us can live, right? So.
Well, no, I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, we could easily screw things up so bad that we don't last even that long.
You think?
There's no evidence for that.
Yeah.
Strange. Very strange.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's a possibility. We could easily screw things up so bad that we don't last that long. We don't last another 1,000 years.
The Romans were so worried about this, they made laws against mining underground and stuff. So everybody's always been worried about this. So it's lame. We have so many more resources now than we've ever had before. Fracking now has doubled the world's oil reserves. Doubled the world's oil reserves.
Do you understand what oil reserves means?
We have. What do you mean? Oil is oil.
Do you know what oil reserve? When you say that, do you know what oil reserve means?
It means how much oil you have on hand at any given time that's not currently in use.
Yeah.
No, it means
or that's sitting dormant in some form in nature that we haven't tapped.
I'll agree with that as well.
No, it's way more flexible than that. It actually has a very flexible meaning, and it depends on who you ask what a oil reserve is. So saying oil reserves doesn't really say anything.
Yeah, but
what matters, if I may
finish.
All
right, go ahead.
What matters is oil rate, how much you can pull out of the ground at a particular time.
Oh, okay.
That is what matters. So you can talk about, oh, we've got all this oil based on this current economic situation that we're in, and a lot of that is bullshit. But the fact is that if you cannot pull it out of the ground fast enough to meet the demand for the entire world, then it really doesn't have any force at all.
All right. Matt. Check your site. Check your Skype.
Now, isn't the problem that we're pulling out too much oil for world demand right now?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, but why is that? Ask yourself that.
Fracking, because of fracking.
No.
Yes.
No, part of that
nope.
has to do with the
nope.
Yes.
Okay, wait. This is retarded. Because you're just like, nope, and he's just like, yes. And you're just like, nope, and he's just like, yes. We should at least elaborate on that instead of just being like, nope.
Okay, can we deal with the Middle East right now?
Okay.
We are dealing with the Middle East. Because of fracking, we're letting the Middle East implode. Fracking has allowed us to just don't care what goes on over there, right?
You are 180 degrees off base.
Actually, you know what? Fracking's hurted Russia more than like most of the Middle Eastern countries.
No, it's made.
Well, yeah, that's why they're trying.
Most of the Middle Eastern countries are smart enough.
That's why they made a deal
away.
with. That's why they made a deal with Saudi Arabia to freeze production rates.
Yeah, and Saudi Arabia borrowed $75 billion just to keep running its government.
Again, Matt, check your Skype.
Yeah, because they did not cut production. That's the reason why. So they're the ones creating the glut, not the fucking fracking. They're putting the frackers out of business. That's the whole issue that's going on.
They can't cut production because if they did cut production, the price would go up and frackers would go crazy and start producing.
Also, the other thing that like it's not just fracking; it's also like the demand for China has like decreased a lot.
Thank you for bringing that up. Oh Lord. Because China and Russia are trying to run a pipeline, which is part of the issues you have in the Middle East right now. Because they have to go through some pretty turbulent areas
Also,
in Africa.
with
to get
China
their pipeline.
pollution.
No, but listen, OPEC is playing a war of chicken with the frackers. That's what's going on.
And that's what
It's not a question of, oh well, we got all this oil and all this oil is going. No, it's because it's not the market situation. It's underpriced right now.
it's being
because-
manipulated. Yes.
Because of what OPEC is doing.
All right.
To get control of the market so they can go back and have control of the market and be able to overprice the oil.
Yep, they're trying to hit this. They're trying to hit the reset button.
Okay, Matt, I'm sending you mine.
Also, with China too, like they're like a big polluter, but like they're doing more than the United States is to try to
They
get off.
certainly are. They certainly are.
Because they are like the hugest investors right now in solar technology.
Yep. A lot of people making sacrifices instead of being selfish because it's like literally a point of survival for them. They see it. Yeah.
As an economy that's coming up.
They still rely a lot on coal because they got a shit ton of it, so they're like, we should use it.
What are you trying to say, Infinity?
Well, I was saying as an economy that's coming up, they recognize that they cannot depend on the fossil fuel scenario for their growth. That's why they're doing what they're doing. I mean, that's the only explanation.
They're going to have the same problems Germany had. Germany spent all that money on solar panels, and they still can't shut down any of their coal or their oil production facilities. Why? Because they still need to run those power plants because solar is not reliable.
Well, that's mostly because they haven't been able to bring their nuclear plants online, and also they've been very successful. They've been very successful in alternative energies, including solar and wind.
Because I think China and Saudi Arabia are both helping each other out because they're both building like the largest solar parks in each country.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
and China is also trying to help develop Africa, which is a very positive thing.
Yep. The West is losing ground. We're
Well, the West
behind.
gave up on Africa a long time ago.
Oh yeah. As soon as everybody was like, "Hey man, we want our freedom," they were like, "Nah, fuck that place."
And it's like cheap shit too. China's like getting
worst.
so much credit with just being like, we'll build roads. We'll
Hey.
just lay down some asphalt.
Hey, Brandon, are you making a room tonight?
no, probably not.
Really?
How's this been going?
This
We'll
is
build power lines.
since 6. Yo, you're not making a room tonight? Why have you been canceling all your rooms and shit?
Well, I just worked the last 3 days. I did one last night and it got sniped. And then, literally 30 seconds after it got sniped, my power went out because there was big thunderstorms on the East Coast last night. So.
Alright.
Hey, Brandon,
Yeah.
go ahead. Jalen.
Oh!
Can I ask a dumb question? What is getting
Yeah.
sniped?
His rooms.
People go into your room and eject you, and then you can't get back in your room, and they eject everybody else. And
How is that even possible? How does that even happen?
It's a new feature. Yeah, you can do that now.
That's wrong.
I think one
We've
of
just
the
been lucky
features-
because no one gives a
No
shit
one
about
cares
this room
about us.
enough to
Well, Hero always
kill the room.
They're like,
That's
they're sniping
right.
themselves good enough.
And people doubt my methods and attitude.
Yeah,
See,
and Hero
that's
always
how
sets
it works,
up.
baby.
Well, you are a programmer, love.
He's like, I
You
want
know
to make
what?
sure.
No, that's not an effect. I'm like the newbiest person on this Google Plus. I can't be bothered to follow these mazes, and then they change it. But you know what? I wanted to ask you guys. The problem is for this channel is there's no chat on the side.
Yeah.
Does not show up. So this has to do, I'm sure, with I have an ancient YouTube channel, and it made me have a separate, Google Plus channel, and somehow between those two, I have everything marked. For a while, I couldn't even have comments. Comments stopped working. Then I redid some stuff, and it started working. So the question is, could I start a new? I could start a new channel, and maybe we could share the keys to it. Take this room to the new channel. It should work, right? Because obviously it does work. Because there's,
But
I think
kinda
then we would also have, I don't really care about the audience per se, but it is good. Sometimes I watch these things and I would like to be able to chat even though you
Yeah.
can't get in. So,
Yeah, I
I
see what
kind
you're
of
saying.
like it when the comments are below the video because when I've noticed when it's on the side, it doesn't save those.
No,
I
you're right.
know.
Wait,
But if the comment section's below the video, it saves those.
wait.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Sometimes I've gone to those, yeah. That's when I can't get on. I go to
Well,
that.
right, because the comments are really for the live people, and then after it becomes a video, then the text comments. I think you can do the text comments, or could in the old days, but now, like when I watch Sam Cedar, they might be doing live streaming, but when they do it, and pretty much everybody else, while they're live, you can't leave the text
I know
comments.
YouTube.
No, because they turn it off.
I'm
Are
calling
you
this, but
sure?
then
Because
Yeah.
no, anyway,
No, because
YouTube.
Cairo, a lot of times when I couldn't get on your channel, I would go to the comment section while you were live, and I
But
could
you have
talk.
to either chat, yeah. But if you turn chat on, then you don't get the
like
comments.
No, if I can't get on, I can't turn the chat on.
I'm calling this like G Plus
No,
was
no,
a
no.
step in this direction and it failed
Tim,
horribly, but like Google still wants to do this. They're gonna get rid of the comment sections just entirely one day.
why do you
Probably.
think they're gonna get rid of the comments?
A lot of websites are getting rid of their comment sections because
Wait,
they're just like, why devote that
excuse me.
resource when most people just talk about like our stuff on Facebook or Twitter? Like those are the comment sections now.
I'm not really seeing that a lot. Maybe it's on
I'm
where are you seeing that?
Huffington Post, Slate.
Not a lot of news sites.
Because here's what happens in the comments. All the leftist shit they said in the video gets dismantled and made fun of. I mean, it's only logic in the comments. You can't.
Well,
go
it's in a lot of cases with some. I don't know with all sites, but with some sites, they're just like nobody talks in our comment section anymore. They just talk about it on Twitter or Facebook and link to
Yeah,
videos
so it's
and
just
whatever
kind of
there.
so it's just kind of redundant. Is that
Yeah.
what's being said?
That's not why. It's because
Like it's not all the cases. Probably there are probably some people who are like, we don't like comments we're getting.
and Breitbart's not shutting off their comments. It's Huffington Post and Slate. Huffington Post doesn't want you to discuss what they say. You just
I
accept it.
think the Washington Post is also shut off comments.
This is creeping into some weird conspiracy theory territory with you though, Brandon. It's
Justice warriors, leftist media. It's all regular. You know.
No, but the Huffington Post is notorious for that.
Yeah.
Kind of block out anything that doesn't agree with them.
Yeah.
They are notorious for that.
Yeah.
And now
Oh,
that attitude's spreading throughout all social media. I mean, look at Twitter. They ban anybody they disagree with.
Twitter is the
Like
ghetto
a lot
of
of
the internet.
newspapers.
I hate Twitter.
A lot of newspaper websites have done this, like Washington Post, Chicago Sun, like LA Times. They're just like nobody's talking in our comment section. Why waste the space or whatever?
I know, but it's almost no space.
I don't
Yeah,
think.
Put more ads there.
no more safe spaces.
I don't. Yeah, they need more safe spaces. The comment section's not a safe space. That's what the problem is.
I don't know. Is any space safe on the internet?
I think
At least
really
with the print media websites, I'm like, you know what? That is probably like money. They're probably like we could like if we don't have comments, we can put more ads. We need money because we're a dying industry.
All right, what were you gonna say, yeah?
I was just going to say, I think there's going to become a moment where, and I think it's actually a serious issue because the whole discussing things at a cocktail party or a party or writing a letter to the editor, this is advanced and advanced and advanced. And right now, this public conversation, the way we use this media, there's obviously a lot of people doing it, but it's not built for us. And it's not really gonna. We can't rely on the tools even staying usable for us. Like they took away video replies, for example. That's just now there's no video replies. That changed things a lot. Was one of the great things about YouTube for what I use it for. So we need a website. Somebody has to come along and provide it. And I still want to, but it's like somebody has to do it.
Dialogue really changed on YouTube a lot when comments, I mean not comments, but when like the reply got taken away.
Yeah, and what for? How could that? Why?
Social
It's
justice warriors.
the big reason, like
Bullshit.
at least I don't know if this is the real reason, but the reason YouTube said they took away the replies is
No one
because
uses them.
You know what?
Well,
My
it
bathtub.
was- it was being spammed by like reply girls. Was the term? It was basically
Like,
somebody who would
so
make
what?
like a really shitty video that was like
That's
30
super hard
seconds
to
to a
detect.
minute long.
Okay, wait. From what I remember hearing about it, it was because I read what YouTube said. They said it's because no one uses the fucking comment section. So no one
reply.
uses that. Thank you. No one uses the replies, so there's no point in it being there. That's what I remember them
I read
saying.
it was being abused by people
No, it was just
who were gaming the
So we're
monetization.
commenting.
Yeah.
So we're commenting.
Yeah.
Big deal. Cut those ones out.
Yeah, it was more or less the fact that no one was using them, so they
It's
saw no
because they
point
don't
in
make this
existing.
for what we use it for, and yet there's obviously a huge market of people. And imagine how much better the software could be if you could reply and annotate with what we do in mind. Not with the fact that you're going to have 1 billion people watch every video, but the fact that, hey, if 5,000 people were watching, that is a wide conversation. And they're not going to make money off that, even monetizing them, really. So they're just not for us, but we need to have a system like that because, like I said, it is just a hobby, but it's also not just a hobby. The fact that people have this hobby around the world, it's crucial to nurture it because this is how we're getting a lot of our fucking dirty laundry out.
Well, you know, in a free market where there's a need, there will be the creation for that need.
The hand of the free market. Wait. Or in
No.
Brandon's words, the hands of the SJW, Brandon.
Well,
That's
that's
where
where
I
the
had
problem is, like,
nonsense because it takes an individual to actually do something about it.
problem
No.
is that,
doesn't
like,
do
the
shit.
internet.
No, this is for Brandon. Brandon, what if the hand of the free market became the hand of the SJW? What about that?
Yeah.
What about that, Brandon? What about that?
I would smack it down.
Exactly. So basically, it's just a struggle to which one of us can force the system on. Look, there's no agreement. We agreed, or Brandon, right? We don't want to agree midway, right? And so we're just in a struggle to force my way on you or your way on me.
Well, I don't know exactly what we're talking about here.
Well, like for example, I think we need to open up our borders a lot more and let people in. You with me for that? Okay, let's meet halfway. Let's meet half between the. You're with me.
No, I'm going to go further than you. I'm going to say if someone can afford to get here and they don't have a disease, then they should be welcome to come.
Well, no, that's not further. I said that earlier. Okay, so we do agree on that. Okay, that's good.
That's meeting halfway.
Well, right, yeah, no. So I failed at that example. We did meet. I guessed wrong on that one. So maybe we can meet halfway.
You're sensible on that. No, I think like what if let's say you say, oh, 100 million people from China would come. Yeah, but only the 100 million who wanted to come to America, and if they couldn't get a job and make it on their own, they'd have to go back. So I would do away with the welfare state. They couldn't come here and get on welfare. They'd have to get a job or starve. So, and if we put all that together, I'd be okay with as many. And what if we get in a war with China later, and we've got 100 million of their best and brightest and smartest people here producing on our side? So that.
Well, they're going to leak all the secrets.
So let me start a little more broadly then, though. The difference between Trump and Hillary. I don't really like Hillary, but I'm definitely willing to live with her and prefer her, and actually do prefer her a million miles to Trump. So I'm getting at the fact that there's a huge chasm there. And it just has to be that one or the other side dominates the other side. How's that libertarian? Shouldn't you figure out a way for the people that want a Trump to be able to have Trump and the people that want Hillary to have Hillary?
No, my view of that is that you shouldn't have to run to the voting booth every 4 years in fear of your life. I think you should have a legal system that goes a little longer term than 4 years. So I don't think it should really matter which clown is running this month for what station. And even the office of president in the 1800s was very weak unless we had a war. And if there was not a war going, he did not really have very much to do. Set tariffs and then go play golf. He was useless. Cool.
You know what I would like? I would like the president to have 1 6-year term. Like, I get why having, like, congressmen and senators being limited to, like, one term, it could be potentially bad, because there's a lot of shit, like, you kind of can't learn, like, in one term. But, like, president, it's like, yeah, just give him 6 years.
Yeah, but my
They
point
want
is,
to get more done.
what if you gave him 4 years, or what if you gave him 8 years? It shouldn't matter, because he shouldn't have any power.
Well, yeah, that's kind of my thing. Like they could like just focus on whatever
Well,
the
there
fuck
you
they
go. I
want
don't
to
agree
focus
with
on.
that.
They don't have to worry about re-election.
Yeah, Kara
I don't
found
agree with
something.
them having no power or nominally none. I don't agree with that.
Sick, we got
So
something.
where's the
Nobody-
in between?
What should you have the power to do? Penn Jillette put an excellent question. Should you punish people for things if they haven't done anything wrong? And if you take that
I
view,
think he should have the power to help direct
Wasn't-
maintenance and construction of the United States' national infrastructure, including its
Sure, well,
defense and
sorry.
other things that have to be operated on a daily basis and need an executive.
all right,
And that is what he should do, or
Yeah.
she
It's been a
should
while
do.
since I've read up on this,
And
but
that's a
wasn't
shit
the
ton of power.
president
in order to
like seen as the weaker branch out of the three?
I
Like
would argue that
originally?
never actually happened.
they're all useless. All three branches by themselves are useless. So the Senate can raise money, the Congress can pass money bills, and the president can sign them. But none of them can raise.
But I thought like originally like the president didn't have much power, but then it was like Thomas Jefferson and the Adams. Like they gave the presidential branch more and more powers.
Well, yeah, but also, look, it was just an experiment. Here's what I would say, for example. The president shouldn't be talking about the economy and all this quite as much as if they make the economy.
Right. Yeah.
Right? But it's determined, it was found out, it's true that the actions of the president affect the economy directly. Like if you do or don't go to war, and what you say and do with the things you do control or have influence on, who you appoint to the Fed, any of these things, they affect the economy so much that of course you're going to, it's almost like a mistake in design. We have to sort this out. The president can't not have economic duties.
No.
And also, it's not the whole story, right? Because I think, is it in the Constitution? Where is it that the president writes a budget? It starts with the president, doesn't it?
I think a president suggests the
Right.
budget.
So that's not the economy, but obviously the budget affects the economy. So I think we need actually a remedy to our system, like, a
There
new
might be
faucet
vice
on there.
president.
Well, what if
Might
we,
be one of them.
Hero? What if we said that the government couldn't do anything that affected the economy?
But how is that possible?
Yeah.
I mean, if they are in charge of when we go to war, of course that's just a perfect example of it's going to affect the economy.
So the government could protect rights using guns, but other than that, they couldn't. So if, like, for example, let's say they need to raise money, so they open up a lottery, and the Constitution would shut them down and say no because you're competing with private lotteries, and they say, okay, well, we'll open a road and charge people to drive on our road, and the Constitution would shut them down and say no because somebody might want to open a road. And anytime they tried to do anything to interfere in the economy, we would shut them down. All they could do
Yeah,
is...
I would not do that. Well, I know. That's who built road. That's who started the mail system. We wouldn't have those things.
In order for you to enforce that, you do have to go and punish people who start private roads and start private mail systems, and they did fight...
No, that's not true. You can make a private road. What are you talking about?
No, they fight with FedEx, they fight with UPS, and you cannot start a private road. You have to have it totally...
They fight with FedEx.
It's all...
In my lifetime, it's become this huge multi-billion-dollar company, so I'm not sure where you're going with that.
Well, they cannot. They're not allowed to carry first-class mail. They can only compete with packages. But the point remains that anything that the government says this is our business, they're going to punish people for trying to do that business, even if that's not a bad thing for the people. You want to open a road that's safer than the government roads, but it doesn't have government-approved lines and surfaces and stuff. So what are they going to do? They're going to shut you down. Oh, it's safer? We don't care. It doesn't
Right.
have rules.
But I believe in this gated community called the United States that I pay my yearly fee to be a part of. I want regulations on things like that. And it's just a matter of where I don't want them to be onerous, But the idea that we should have none is not really a solution. We need to have reasonable ones. It's reasonable to say if you're going to sell meat wholesale, you have to keep it refrigerated until it gets to its delivery point, and things like that. And so maybe this is an example of where there's in a middle ground between us.
Well, you know, I've seen that stuff up close, and it doesn't work very well because they just say the government minder isn't near, so let's do as we please.
Right, but before we had any, well, there's not enough government minders, if you ask me, anymore. But
That's
the
an Orwellian
government's too
statement.
big as it is.
That's an Orwellian statement. No, I'm talking about inspecting food and meat.
Oh, well, it's just never going to be enough, ever, ever, ever.
No, the number's been dropping and dropping and dropping because people on your side of the political spectrum don't think we need that kind of thing. Those guys will watch out for themselves.
Well, if it were up to my side of the economy, we'd probably irradiate beef and probably other foods as well.
Oh, would you have to?
I don't know, but it would kill everything on them. So.
But people wouldn't have to, right? So some people might choose not to do that, so it would just be fine, right?
No, but here's what would happen. People who went to Chipotle, where they had a banner out front that said non-irradiated food, and they went there and died, then people would figure out real quick that irradiation is safe.
And when something like Zika shows up in your state, what do you do then? Just the private people will...
You take DDT and spray it everywhere.
You're going to go do that? You're going to go do it?
I would.
Yeah, well, there wouldn't be any bed bugs.
It's happening.
I'd spray it on my kids.
Bed bugs be gone.
Yeah, exactly.
So you would just leave it to the people, no purpose, no, they would no, like I believe that we have government organizations to do a concerted reaction. Go buy DDT, take it down. There are people that know where to go and look and use it right. And you would leave that to just people like you spraying DDT on the children, or?
Yeah, because what's the government? So what? Okay, so you could go.
What are they going to do with their science and their hiring experts?
Right, you could go with a scientist to the court and sue and say all the birds in my local forest are dead because they've been using DDT, and the government would take the court and they would have, a jury would come and they would decide. Okay, 1,000 birds a day are dying from it. What's the consequences? Well, there's no malaria, there's no typhoid, there's no whooping cough, there's no yellow fever, and the judge would say, all right, fuck you, you can use all the DDT you want.
So in the universe of things that have never happened, I see how that might be relevant. But here in this universe, that is not at all, you can't just say that like that counts. That's not what would happen if you start spraying DDT everywhere and you kill everything and you kill the forest, then we're going to die. We need a living forest to cut the wood from for our houses. You and I disagree on that, right? And I don't trust your approach at all, 0%. You're not going to, you're going to have to, with guns,
they used to
force that on me.
The guy used to eat a spoonful of it every morning. They used to spray it on people. They used to dust people with DDT powder. In Africa, they spray it up and down their houses.
What's your point?
That it's not toxic. You're saying it would destroy forests and stuff. No,
I'm saying that discussing DDT, if it's toxic or not, is discussing where to draw the line. You are making a point that there shouldn't be any lines like that, that people should just do whatever they want and have the government shouldn't be allowed to make a road somewhere.
I'm saying that the DDT has caused, the government interference with DDT has caused millions of deaths.
Well, guess what? People had X-ray shoe, cameras there in their shoe stores for a while, where you could go up there and put your foot on and see an X-ray of your own foot right there wiggling around. That was a little bit before they realized that caused cancer.
Yeah, it was probably government approved.
It was government approved, right? Governments make mistakes. They don't know every single thing, but we're trying to figure out the stuff that we do know, like, I don't know. I don't agree with. I'm not that big on a lot of safety stuff, but like refrigerating meat, that example, and how to kill germs. There's scientists that know that can be put on something like that are better than just a bunch of guys that maybe here you use oil and all the folk ideas of what you do about mosquitoes. So somebody has to get the DDT, for example. So, I totally support that. And I don't see how we're going to find a middle ground on that, unless we admit we're just deciding where the middle ground is. Is DDT in? Is it out? DDT might have been overdone. I'll tell you ones I don't like. I think the airbag was overdone and stupid, right? I think that actually a lot of what's in Face's Nader's things, you know, with the Corvair, he was out of line with.
Yeah, I'd say seatbelts are good. But, like, airbags really seem like one of those things that, like, you should be able to opt out of that shit.
It's overkill. And it decapitated children and stuff, and it's just...
Also, like, as a smoker who's just entering their 30s now, like, I'm so fucking mad that cars don't fucking come with cigarette lighters anymore.
I know, it's
and
not
actual
funny.
ashtrays.
Or fuck the ashtray, right? I know.
Yeah.
No, you know what?
I mean,
that's not regulation.
That's
That's not regulation. I think that's
would be dirty.
That's actually market-driven, though. It's a turn-off to all the non-smokers to have something useless in there, and you could buy a third-market ashtray, and I believe that's actually market-driven. I don't think it's not illegal to have an ashtray in a car.
Cell phone chargers. Well, here's the thing. With most cars now, they still have the socket in there for a cigarette lighter, but it's just like the charging terminal for like cell phones and stuff.
Yeah, it's a bad place for a lighter usually now. It's sort of sunk in there and stuff. And
you can still like buy the lighter parts on. Yeah, you can still buy the lighters and stuff.
Well, you know what you should do? The best I ever saw.
I've seen some people who say they still work, but like I would.
Back in the day, I thought the best ashtray I saw when everybody was smoking, and you know, Humpty hippie cars that might not have ashtrays and stuff for various reasons. The best one anyway, and you can still get them, is a beanbag ashtray. It's an ashtray on a beanbag, and it's good for the car. It won't slide. You can put it on something non-flat. They're awesome, yeah. But I don't smoke in my car anymore.
Ripped
since I bought a new car. Yeah. So that's what you need that, and then there's got to be a cigarette lighter off a USB port. That would be great. Probably not enough power. But yeah, you could just have a cigarette lighter that plugs into 12 volts, so you put the cigarette lighter wherever you want. But that does suck, huh? Because the cigarette lighter needs to be fixed in place, and so that's what sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want that thing accidentally, like... Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it triggered me. No,
By the way, I'm sorry to everybody that I'm presented. I cannot turn it off, like so.
Oh, what happened?
Enjoy watching me play Pokemon Emerald. Nuzlocke. I don't know. Like I just came in and it's like you're presented to everybody. I was like, oh okay, and then it's like, wait, I can't stop presenting. What's happening?
Oh, weird. I don't know that I have a control for that. I have one that says for me to present. I mean, probably that'll clear yours. Present, and then stop.
Yeah, we can present people.
I see.
Profile at the bottom.
But he couldn't unpresent.
Now I'm presenting. Yeah, that's much
Eddie,
better.
on the top it said stop for me, but maybe that didn't show up for you. I'm telling you, this Google stuff's getting more and more. I'm sorry, but the Willy Wonka factory. I think the
finicky.
I think the Oompa Loompas need their meds or something. It's getting a little bit psychotic, this product suite they've got going on. But, you know, you still can't say no. Nobody else. But, hey, there is a web technology coming on that it's going to make it super simple to make a web page that does what this Hangout does. And when that happens...
You know, blog TV's come back?
What?
Like some startup company basically just bought all the
Blog TV is back.
Blog TV and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They brought back Blog TV.
I think, yeah, there's a market, but here's the thing. I'm not sure, like Damaged Soul was saying, oh, get your act together, and you have to, no, she didn't put it that way, but saying that, you know, the market will create this thing that I want to do, and we've been trying to do it and stuff, but here's what I've run the numbers several times, and I figured out subscriptions that would be, I don't want any subscription, really, but I'm sorry. I'm trying to say what it's really waiting for is it's just going to become that cheap, right? Like this web RTC, where the browsers do most of the work, and just we all talk to each other like it was more like a Skype, and you don't necessarily need the Skype backend because we're just using it's peer-to-peer, multi-calling. So we're using our own computers and our own ISPs, and it doesn't all have to go through the Google server to do what we're doing, and it's just going to drop to be really cheap. And then when it's really cheap, I mean, I already I was spending $70 a month for a server at Rackspace and get the same thing for $40 a month. But see, I always have some fairly decent servers, and they've just gotten cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And at some point, I'll just be able to run, the technology will be here to just run it on our own machine. But what's going to happen is that the software has to be mature. And there are a couple web RTC systems. But you know what I mean? Being able to video conference isn't enough. We want it to automatically save the video. There's comments, and so waiting for software like that.
Server, because I remember back when Amendum tried doing it with LoggerDev, like one of the big hurdles there was like server space and stuff. But like now with like the cloud and shit, that's not too much of a problem.
No, that's true. The video storage is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and actually that's the one reason that Amazon's so good. They've got some really cheap stuff. Like you can archive stuff there for almost nothing if you're willing to wait 24 hours to get it back. So you don't usually have to wait 24 hours, and you pay almost nothing. And then with the S3, you get it right away, and it's also cheap. But you wouldn't want to have it like as a file system. So you can definitely store videos.
Is this Google thing like a little golden age right now? Like it's like YouTube when YouTube first started, video replies and reasonable commenting and message back and forth was reasonable and easy.
Yeah.
Is it like a golden age right now with Google Plus video hangout things?
Well, what do you mean by golden age? It's like the early age. Like they got a jump start on what's actually technically possible. It's hard to write one of these, and you had to be a Google or get $100 million from some investors, to even try it. Like Stickum did it, and they ended up not being able to make money with it in the U.S. anyway.
Or be very specialized.
The golden age is about
like
to happen because the web standards are inventing things like there's web RTC for web real-time communication, and basically it means that you can use your browser as Skype and have a link and click it and have a two-person conversation. And by the way, your browsers can already do that. But the next step is it does have to cooperate. The multi-call thing is a little more complicated, and it will take a server because even though all the browsers will be sending the information to each other, you kind of need a server to coordinate it. And it's tricky because this has to go through your firewalls and stuff, but the standard's all been pretty much written. It's not in all the browsers yet, and when it hits, it'll be really easy to do a Google Plus Hangout. And then saving the video of it, there is not that hard in that there's open source video stuff that if what you do is you'd make a WebRTC client on a server, and when the video it got, you just put it right. It would just save an MP4 or whatever right away, and then the browsers already don't need a server to stream video. Like 5 years ago, they still needed a server to even stream the video because the web was you're supposed to ask for a whole file. And to have a streaming is different, but there's a web MD format that, I forget what it's called, but a video format that's really a good format, and it can be streamed just from a file on the disk. So that part's easy. So all we're waiting for is the ability to replace this literal part that we're in right now with the, to have 8 people, reasonable bandwidth, and on the browser, because everything else is all available. So it's like we're about to hit a golden age of these tools, and if I don't do shit about it, I mean, in 5 years some kid will make or add a WordPress plugin or some shit that is good enough for us,
Well, in a way, though, I mean, look at early YouTube, and we all did our thing back then, and then it exploded onto Twitter and Facebook and everything else.
Yeah.
And we lost that kernel community, which was really functional in some way, because there were not a million of them.
Now if you're talking about the golden age of the actual people doing it, which often is the early ages, Yeah, no, I think there is. A lot of people are haven't you noticed? I mean, you started doing it, but yeah, no, there's a lot of people, and Nadia now is having Google Hangouts 24 hours a day. I know other people are using it for all the reasons people use these so-called social media, but as far as the discussion ears or whatever, um, yeah, I think there is a little bit of a golden age right now with the Hangouts. There's a couple of Hangouts I don't have a chance to go to. I don't think like Logic Only Zone, but I'd like to go in there and be their the anti-Vic to their anti-illusions exist thing. You know, that a lot of them happen at the same times now. So yeah, there is. There's a lot of people doing it, and I think it makes a lot of sense, especially since it saves the videos.
One of the most brilliant uses of the Hangouts that I've seen was an open 8-hour-long video call between two offices, one in like Berlin and one in New York or San Francisco or something. And it was just a camera link, and anytime anyone needed to talk to the other people, they could walk up to the camera on that computer and it was open in there. And it was recorded and broadcast afterward publicly and stuff, but so that's like an open video conference call for free for the whole time the business is open at no cost. It's amazing.
But that's funny because you don't have to make it public, right? Regular old Google Hangouts will do a private video call for free, and you can have like it's just as many people in it. And I've used it for my contracting, and it's an amazing free resource. And I've shopped around, and even things you pay for are not as convenient. And as much as I bug them about the quality, they do have a way of making stuff robust. Like the interface is getting bad, but as bad as this thing is, you know, I can, if I do get kicked out, I can re-log in. I mean, it was my wireless was the problem I had before. It wasn't Google Hangouts. It allows you to get back in, and I've never had one not save or the audio not be there. So, it's an amazingly free resource, and it's expensive to run a server for this kind of thing. So. Yeah, I think we'll get it. I would still like to be involved with it, and as cheap as possible, but it does have to be profitable. You know, I do believe in that we need our social things that we do like so we can have free speech and discussions. They have to be sustainable, which means profitable in some way. You know, it has to make money. I don't believe advertising is okay, so you know, there's various ways to do it, and if you get the cost down low enough, you know, there's so many ways to do it, right? You don't need a bunch of money every week to keep this kind of stuff going once it gets cheap. So I'm going to be right back. I'm going to smoke this cigarette.
Yeah, the price of computing goes down and makes these videos that every single fucking video made in the year 2007 and uploaded to YouTube all fits within a couple dozen really big video things now. So it costs them almost nothing to keep all of those archived hours and hours of old, billions of hours of old stuff. You guys know that right now it's something like 2 weeks worth of video is uploaded to YouTube every minute or something insane like that. You can never catch up with it, ever. Not that it's all very good.
Probably half that shit gets deleted immediately.
I wish they'd stop uploading so much
that
more.
too, YouTube's. Well, like, YouTube's been a lot more hardcore on a lot of shit now. Like, especially, like, anime. Like, oh boy.
Yeah, there
can't
goes
find anime anymore on YouTube.
It gets closed down a lot.
Unless it has a stupid fucking border around it.
Unless something has a border around it, it's gonna get closed down. It's gonna get closed down unless it has a border. And even then,
I kind of know why it's probably getting targeted, because anime is getting popular again. Like, there's money in it again. Like, Adult Swim's making, like, they're pulling in huge ratings, and fucking Crunchyroll is, like, doing really well financially. So, of course, the copyright holders are going to be more stringent.
Like that shit's annoying too, because you can't find shit anymore because it just gets pulled down. Alright,
You can't find the garbage anime. I am glad about that, because, like, most of that garbage anime from, like, Central Park Media and, like, Media Blasters and Entertainment.
Fuck you. I like Gao
Look, I like that. Look, you know I like garbage anime, Kalins, but, like, it's like half of that shit hasn't been like nobody knows who's copyrighted it. Like, cause like the companies went out of business like 80 times in a row. It changed hands, and like those businesses went out of business, and so like Mad Bull 34. Nobody knows who owns the copyright for that right now. That's why it's never going to be on DVD or Blu-ray or digital or anything.
Matt, we're killing the audience. Let's talk about something else.
Professional wrestling. Yay or nay?
There we go.
I'm here. I'm listening. So you didn't kill me. I'll be back soon. Beer's open, and I'll take a peek.
Alright. Wait. Did
I made my mock chop Caleb's. I named my mock chops Gypsy Joe.
Okay, so that's amazing.
In hindsight, I should have named him Chris Benoit because he evolves into Mock Choke, and Chris Benoit chokes his wife and child. But like I was just like, oh, he's got Chop in the name, and Gypsy Joe like recently died. And
wasn't
Gypsy
wasn't Gypsy Joe's signature move the chop?
Yeah, and it's just like that's a basic move. That's like that's like if in football somebody's fucking like speciality was running.
Like that's I can do it. I can run.
Like this guy, hey, his speciality is running.
What wasn't Hulk Hogan's like special the big boot, which was really just a kick?
Yeah,
that's all the big boot. That's all the big boot was. It was just a normal kick.
Well, like the man's like his back's made out of like cotton candy and like fiberglass now.
No, when he was wrestling, that was what his special move was. When he was in his prime, it was a big boot. That was it. What can you do really well, Hulk Hogan? I can kick people. There you go.
I've just I'm not joking, Caleb. For the last 2 days, I've been doing nothing but this in Pokemon, just grinding.
Dude, like
I'm at the point in Emerald where I could beat all the other gyms. I even beat the electric gym without any ground Pokemon. I just rolled in there and just bitch slapped that fucker and all his stupid electric Pokemon.
Matt, I legit thought you were dying. I was so worried about you. I legit thought you were dead. I didn't know where you were.
No, I've just been literally obsessed with Pokemon for the last. I've just been like, you know what? Take me away, Pokemon. Take me away from the horrible real world where like it's complicated and shit. Let me capture monsters and force them to fight or be my slaves or something. I didn't catch. Oh man, in one game, Caleb, you'll love this. In one game, I caught a fucking Rowlet's, the pre-evolution Deguadrivar, and I named it, and it was a male, so I named it Rule 34 Trap.
That's what? What the fuck? Alright, cause like, is there a physical difference?
I named my tentacle Hentai because Legend of the Overfiend was too long.
Legend of the Overfiend was too long. You could have. Why didn't you just call it the Overfiend? Why didn't you just call it the Overfiend?
Yeah, I should have, but I named him Hentai. That's what I do. I give my Pokemon dumb, awful. I name my Magic
Oh shit! It's it! Oh shit! Wait! Fuck! It's fucking Andrew! Oh shit! It's Andrew! Hold on. Let me broadcast Andrew.
Who do I have in my party now?
Oh no! It's Andrew!
I got Trap Queen, Shrifty. Oh look! I got Gypsy Joe. See? Look,
what's up, Andrew?
Joe, right there.
What's up, Andrew? You haven't been in here in like a long time.
I was gonna name my Sandrew, but I didn't. I named him Sanderson.
God damn.
That's short for Sanderson Cooper. He hosts a really,
Oh my god, that's enough
really
of this.
popular
Oh my
show
god,
on
no more
Pokemon
insane
CNN.
Pokemon shit. What's up, Andrew?
And then I have Harry Pooch.
Why aren't you playing Pokemon
I'm
Go?
not gonna stop talking about Pokemon.
Is that one of those Game Boy ones?
Because it's night.
Yeah. Hey, yo,
Yeah.
Brandon's here. Brandon's back. I think.
I'm doing like a special like challenge version of it called the Nuzlocke, where I'm only allowed to catch one Pokemon per place, and if any of my Pokemon die, that's it. They're dead forever. I can't use them again. Speaking of, I need to run. Oh fuck. Oh, there's a
Yeah, like.
Pokemon was
Oh,
big
Harry
for
Pooch.
people a bit younger than me, so I never really played it much, but I do remember it was on the Game Boy, and there was like Pokemon Red and Pokemon Yellow, and
Yeah, like, I think Matt and I both have Pokemon Go, but, like, it's too hot to do anything. Jesus Christ. Like, it's too hot to leave.
Yeah, I'm gonna go tomorrow, even though we're in the midst of a heat wave.
Like, it's too hot to go anywhere, so between work and, like, going outside, I'm like, no. Like, when I leave work, I leave work. I'm not going outside. It's too hot.
Look, I'm gonna show you this right now.
Yes.
Here's me speeding this shit up. Look at how fast I'm moving. Here's the normal speed. Like, how the fuck am I supposed? Look at how slow this shit is.
No, it's
How
probably
am I supposed to play this shit?
It's probably lag.
No, this is not lag. This is actual real game speed. This is how fast the game is intended to run.
Oh, it probably
Look
looks
at how-
laggy because it probably looks laggy to me because I don't think you can use it
Look at
to
this.
stream games.
Look at how slow this shit is. Come on, throw out the fucking Pokemon. Jesus Christ, you're just gonna stand there all fucking day? Ah.
Matt, how high? Are you
Yeah,
right
I
now?
literally have
Matt, how high are you
really
right
hot.
now? Really high.
Why do you keep calling me the sleepy fucking bastards?
Are you even aware where you are right now?
I'm in Pierrot's hangout. Like, I wanted to ask Brandon if he comes back. It's like, man, Rand was a Pokemon. What Pokemon would she be? I'm thinking
What is wrong with you?
because it looks like a cunt. Da-da-da-da-da-da. But no, seriously, I'm like,
Super
I
high.
had something I wanted to talk about, but I'm just like, Pokemon. Like,
You
this
had
is my
something
life
you
now.
wanted. You had something you wanted to talk about. Like,
Yeah.
Matt, did you?
Oh yeah, I remember now, but Piero's not here. I wanted to ask Piero if he heard about the whale war, the global whale war that's happening.
Whales, as in like belugas whales?
Yeah, whales is in Wales. So apparently, killer whales are like, well, it's humpback whales. They're apparently fucking killer whales up, not literally. But, like, the humpback whales are, like, going into
think
hunting
Piero's
pods of
back.
killer whales
All right.
and dispersing them.
Piero,
Like,
you
they're
back?
chasing off,
Yeah,
like,
sorry
the
to
killer
interrupt,
whales
Alright,
prey before the killer whale.
Matt, Piero is back.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just noticed Andrew was here, and I.
Okay,
No,
Piero,
wait. He wanted to tell you something.
Oh,
have you heard about the whale war that's happening?
no. I know something about the. You mean with
Okay,
real
so-
whales?
In Saudi Arabia, they're
Yeah, whales are fighting each other, so,
Oh no.
Arabia.
I'm sorry.
Trippy.
Now wait, what's
Go
the
on. Tell me about it then.
But, like, the
I'll look it
humpback
up. But
whales
Are there videos of this?
are going into, like, humpback whales are going in and, like, rescuing animals that are being attacked by killer whales, and they're going in and, like, disrupting their hunting pods and shit, and this is happening, like, all over the planet. And, like, scientists are like, we don't know what's happening. We don't know why all of the fucking humpback whales are
they're
just,
like, they're probably
fucking
watching
with
the
the killer
American
whales
election,
now.
and they're like, okay, we've had enough of this. They see it as the Trumpers of the ocean or something.
Is
But, like, I'm wondering,
any of the one
Weird.
whale and that type of whale has a genetic response. When there's too many of that type of whale, do what you can to disrupt their food supply so they die off, so there's less competition. So there's probably too many of them, and it's triggered a response.
Well, the thing that's weirding out the thing that's making the science community wondering is it's because it's a baleen whale attacking like a toothed whale, and they're not competing for like a food source or anything, because the baleen whales just eat little like shrimp and plankton and stuff.
Right, but the killer whales eat their calves.
Yeah, maybe that's because I'm wondering.
So they are
'cause I
enemies.
saw this thing on just flipping through the TV the other day, where killer whales have learned how to put sharks into shock by flipping them over, because when sharks get flipped over onto their stomachs, their brain just gets
I wonder how
flooded
much
with
this is we're
serotonin and they just go
noticing
into
this
a
shit.
shock.
How much is this we're just noticing this shit because we're actually
And
looking
so,
that much more than we used to? You know, it's not just Jacques Cousteau
Yeah, because
out there anymore.
scientists noticed killer whales. Scientists I think it was 10 or 15 years ago, they noticed this one whale in California learned how to do that with sharks, and they were like, oh, that's an interesting one-time thing. We'll probably never see that again. And then 20 years later, killer whale pods all over the ocean know that hunting technique with sharks now. Because the whales, the killer whales, their pods split off and they go join new
a lot of
pods
stuff
and
happens in the
they,
deep blue.
teach that shit. Because there's been reports of marine dolphins and shit going into the wild and teaching their wild relatives fucking tricks and shit.
Well, something's got to happen in order for evolution to do its thing. Nothing stood still for millions of years, so why is it going to stand still now? One of these species is going to die out. Something's going to die out. So they must have tools like this to smart each other. Plus, what if this war of the whales and stuff, was it going on 50 years ago? We don't know, because we didn't have kids into the ocean.
You know what, a really disgusting one? Have you seen how, I forget where this was, but they see these those badass Antarctic seals, tiger seals or something, rape penguins.
What?
They rape
Leopard seals.
It's not at all meant. It's not funny.
They rape what?
There's penguins. They rape the penguins up there. The emperor penguins. They rape them. They totally rape them. There's videos of it, and they rape the penguins. Nobody knows why, and they're kind of like, that's sad.
That's bestiality. What do you mean? That's absolutely.
There's a lot of rape in the animal.
I know, but usually in the same thing.
The animal kingdom is rape culture.
It is, yeah. All things rape culture.
Like a orangutan.
The Romans said, whatever justice there is, we create.
Like orangutans
famous
are
for
rapists.
the Romans, famous for justice.
Like orangutans.
Famous for justice. Andrew, you second that? The Romans, famous for justice.
There's the orangutans who get all the women and they have harems and stuff, and then all the rest of the orangutan men become skeeving rape bandits.
Justice and honorable civic leadership.
Much of our law is based on Rome, so we do have a debt.
Oh yeah, that's great, because you're a big fan of our law.
Well, come on, give us 5
Dolphins are also big into rape.
Listen, about these orangutan gangs. So look what happens when one of them at the top gets all the pussy.
That's racist.
Well, okay, fine. So there's all these monkeys hanging around. So one guy at the top gets all the tail, or 2 or 3 maybe. And so what you have is a group of males that can't get anything, and they have a buildup of testosterone, and that manifests itself in violence, which sometimes, does anybody else know about these groups of orangutans or whatever that go out to enemy territory? They cross over known lines and seek out guys on the other side. Just groups. They just go over there and beat the hell out of people. Or their own other, not, monkey.
I know that with the common chimpanzee, but I'm not surprised if orangutans do similar stuff. But the common chimpanzee has out-and-out war that started to be really well documented I don't know, at least the 80s. I started
You know what's
hearing
also
about it in the
awesome? I
90s.
don't know if you.
And then there's bonobos. You guys know the
I
bonobos.
don't know if anybody in
Yeah,
here
sexy.
has.
Now, what happens when
Yes.
chimpanzees meet the
I
bonobo?
don't know if anybody in here.
Which one's going to survive that? Chimpanzees versus
I
bonobos.
don't know if anybody.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
well, that
Probably bonobos.
history's answered
Because,
that
like,
question.
there's.
No, history's answered that. The common chimpanzee, I think, is on the north of the Congo, and the bonobo is to the south, and then to the east, where human beings developed, is where the two met again, interbred, and that's humans.
Okay. Good enough. I'll take that. So it turns into havoc.
Well,
But,
in the sense,
I don't
okay,
know
and
if
in the
anybody
sense
in
that that's
here
for real
has heard
science, I'm
about.
saying we are related both to bonobos and chimps in general are our closest relatives, and that includes both of the species
All right. Well, on a more metaphorical level, what
after
happens?
separation.
But,
It also means that human beings remated with chimpanzees
um,
after about 1 million years.
Now,
So,
if that's
bestiality.
all right, if that's the case, that's fascinating. But what happens when the violent gang meets up with the sexually lovey-dovey gang and they have a fight?
Well, they end up interbreeding because they kill
well,
all the men and
bonobos
rape all
aren't.
the women.
They kill the men and fuck the women. That's true. So
Bonobos aren't like.
And so the result
They're
is
not
the
complete
same.
pussies.
the roles are okay. I'll take your answer then.
Because, like.
But also the
I'm
the
sorry,
common.
I was just
Yeah,
gonna
go
say.
ahead. My bad.
Bonobos aren't. Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say bonobos aren't complete pussies because there are like stories of them ripping lions apart when like one of them, like a lion tries to get at like one of them. Like they'll just all fucking come down and just beat the lion to death.
Yeah, they must have some. Because they live in a state of nature, they must have some animal ability.
Also,
So, yeah.
Yeah, they're really strong, just
I
like
remember
chimps.
right too. Bonobos are taller than chimps. Like they're like taller, but they're lankier.
Oh, that might be the selection towards 6 foot plus tall men. Isn't it true that they're considered
Also,
more?
I don't know if
You know what?
anybody's seen this either, but like there's a baboon troop that has like learned like to form a symbiotic bond with like the wild dogs.
Nice.
Huh.
Like the
Now,
baboons will like act like animal carcasses and like bones and shit to the wild dog den, and then like in like return the wild dogs won't eat the baboons, and like they'll just kind of let the baboons like stay around them for like protection and shit.
we have evidence going back so far in human history.
Kidnap and raise feral dogs as pets.
Yeah, it's amazing how far
Of
back it
course.
goes.
That's what I said. I never bought that 10,000 years a dog.
Well, that's our evidence. That's just our evidence, though.
Yeah.
You know, we can extrapolate. We can use our minds.
Well, now they found out
They do what?
because they're working on the dog genome, and they found out now like dogs like now they're like dogs were domesticated at least twice.
Oh,
They always thought like dogs were just domesticated once and then it kind of spread out from there. But they're like, no, now there's like evidence that dogs were domesticated in like far Asia and then in the far like Western Europe.
The thing
And
is,
then like those two dog breeds like met in the middle and then bred, and that's where common like
because it's not
modern
just
dogs
humans
come from.
doing it. Coyotes and fox-type animals, they will come around more than a lot of other animals. And it's a friendship that can happen. So domesticating, yeah, where a baboon actually takes a puppy and then raises it is a step beyond that. But I mean, I just think it makes sense that the history goes back before we were even human. Interesting. I'd never seen that. That's really cool.
yeah.
I'm gonna have to look at it. On the other hand, baboons are shitheads, so I wonder how nicely they treat the dog. Probably not too nice, but we'll see.
Not well.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I'm like baboons are like the losers of the monkeys. Like the only like primate lower than a fucking baboon is like a fucking lemur or a slow loris or something. Like just something that's weird. Baboons don't even have like proper opposable thumbs. They got like these little shriveled raisin ones. But they're the ones who figured out, like, hey, dogs, we can use these guys.
I think honestly I think humans have both this bonobo and this warlike, more vicious common chimp thing in us, and it's kind of what's playing out in us now. But as part of that, I think it's silly for that to be a war. It's like both those energies could be channeled together into something, productive. But the vicious, violent instinct part does have to, like, I'm not into putting up with that. Oh, is somebody not in the Hangout? Hangout Hunter joined group. Okay.